Alright, so I'm going to give a countdown, and on go is when we can start. So in 3, 2, 1, go. Alrighty, I think we're ready to rock. This is Parasite Eve. It's a super strange, unique game made by Square Enix. Came out in March of 1998. But oh man. Anyways, sorry about that. So yeah, this was like Square Enix's attempt at creating a Resident Evil-esque Silent Hill game during that period of time, and it came out a little unique, came out different. It was definitely not the survival horror game that they had intended to make. Instead, it came out with their RPG-ish roots that they had been so familiar with from the Final Fantasy series and things like that. That it came out as like this unique survival horror kind of RPG style of game, and it's really great. It's super unique. You'll not find another game like it. Not even the other games in the series are RPGs. So right here, we're just gonna we're just gonna mash some text. That's something we're gonna do pretty frequently throughout this run. Kirito, what's going on, man? How you doing today? Right there, we just I equipped the club. Now the club is basically your police baton, your melee weapon, and what it does is, obviously melee damage. It's a real close combat situation, but it does the same amount of damage as the gun we currently have, and the ATB charges a lot faster. So you don't use bullets. It's faster ATB for the same amount of damage. The only risk you take is obviously that it's a little bit more risky to be in the face of the things you're fighting as opposed to be at some kind of distance, but definitely speeds it up for a while. Towards the end of the first day, so about 15 minutes in, we'll switch out to our first gun of the run, but until then we are swatting stuff to death. Oh man, so how's everybody doing tonight? What's going on with everybody? This is a 3-minute unskippable cutscene, so just kind of buckle up. If you haven't seen the game before, if you've never played it or watched a run of it, then I would definitely watch this cutscene. I'll kind of shush up and let you enjoy it. It's super cool, very dark. It was Square Enix's first rated M title ever, so they were able to do a little bit more with it. Is this live? It is, yes sir, this is live. Parasite Eve, isn't this the last Squaresoft game made before they merged with Enix? Yeah, I think it was I think they were actually still just Squaresoft at the time. I cannot remember, and it was definitely a transition period for them. So this game came out in between Final Fantasy 7 and 8, and you can obviously tell it looks a lot more like 8. And despite only being about 11 months after 7, it's a huge step up in graphics. It's obviously rated M, so it was a lot of weird stuff going on with their merger, with it being rated M, with them introducing a lot of more polygonal models and things like that in their games. It's got a crazy backstory as far as like the production, so. Yeah, it's Square. Final Fantasy VII was definitely a Square Soft title. I believe this game was as well. I just can't remember if it was if Final Fantasy VIII was Enix or Soft. And so right here is the first boss in the game. It's this chair, and we cleared it. Nice. So you get stuck on that chair quite regularly. It's super annoying. I basically just reset at that point because it tilts me. But we mashed through some text. This is Eve, and we're just gonna beat her to death with the club. Now this fight is weird. It can end in either 4, 5, or 6 hits. I've seen a 4-hit fight twice in over 600 attempts. 5-hit is pretty decent luck. It requires 2 crits of the 5 attacks, and a 6-hit is where you get 1 or fewer crits out of the attacks. A 4-hit would require every single attack being a critical. Right here, you're going to see me take this damage because my ATB is slow and it puts me just a little bit ahead. So this is going to be a 5-hit fight. That's nice. Cool. Parasite Eve, man. Yeah, a lot of people, for it kind of being like an under-the-radar style of game. Streamer mode. Oh, do I not have it on? That's my bad. There you go. My apologies. But yeah, for the game being so under the radar or whatever, a lot of people, when I run it in marathons, I run this game in marathons more than anything else. This is like my baby. I love this game so much. I love the speedrun. It was the first real speedrun I ever did, and it's definitely the game I've put more hours in than any other speedrun I do. And it's awesome. Every time people say, "Oh man, I love this game," or I remember this, and I forgot all about it, or whatever. And that's so true, and it's very, very common that people, it's a forgettable game, but a lot of people really enjoyed it when it was released. So, and right off the bat, we're just gonna hold upwards. And this game was designed with D-pad in mind. The analog stick actually came into circulation right as this game was being made. So at the very end of it, instead of going back and making the whole game with analog compatibility, they just kind of tacked it on at the end. So if you use analog, you will disable your D-pad and vice versa. So you can only use one, and we use D-pad. I don't know any runner that doesn't use D-pad, because D-pad is how the game was initially designed, and it makes menus a hell of a lot easier. How hard is it to speedrun or fun? Ah man, this game is insanely easy to learn, but really, really hard to get like a great time. So it's got like a low floor and a high ceiling. Oh wow, we got a little trolled right there. This rat fight can sometimes end in 1 hit if you get a crit, and it'll end in 2 if you don't. And if you miss because you're just bad, it'll end in 3. But it's super easy to learn. We have an incredible guide that spells out every single movement from every single screen, every menu you do. It's pretty much includes everything. And then I made a video guide as well to kind of go hand in hand with that for anybody who prefers to learn visually. So we have a lot of materials to help you learn the game. You can learn it easily in less than a day, without dedicating your entire day as well. It's a very easy game to learn. We don't have skips, we don't have glitches, we don't have anything like that. It's just memorizing screens, playing consistently, and getting decent movement. Oh man, I definitely welcome anybody. If you've never tried speedrunning and you want to get a good first game that's easy to learn and easy to get into, I would definitely suggest this. I actually post on the speedrun subreddit almost monthly, all the different resources. We have a Discord, all kinds of stuff to help get people running the game. Chrysler % runs, I'll probably never do Chrysler % runs. We do have a few runners who have done them before. Personally though, it's not my thing. I only run the main category, which is New Game. New Game Plus and Chrysler % are both kind of memes. if you really like this game, there's a lot of cutscenes, so you got some P breaks. It's very, very good entry level, but at the same time, there's merit to putting in a lot of time to get a really good time, because there are things that you can definitely improve at. So it's got a good spectrum. So right here, this is the troll fight of all troll fights. I'm going to play it safe so that I don't die. This is really the only part in the run that I'm worried about dying at. If you stand too close to her, you'll trigger her to swat you, like to melee attack you, and it can roll 27 if it on its high end. Usually it's around like 12 or 16. Typically I would play this a lot more greedy and just pretty much stand on her, on top of her, and swing as fast as I could. But I'm going to try not to get swatted because it will definitely kill me. That's not a bad fight. Oh, what boss do you consider the hardest on Parasite Eve? So, we don't do the crab in the warehouse. We don't even go to the warehouse, usually. I would consider him the hardest boss in the game. But as far as like in the actual speed run, I would say my least favorite is Shiva, just because she kills a lot of runs, and the strategies that we have don't really deal with her super well. You just kind of gotta get lucky. And at least for like world record strats and everything, if you're going for a super tight PB and you don't pick up a revive, you can easily die there. Otherwise, I would have to say Centipede. A lot of people really dislike the worms, but I've done so many worms that it's pretty much burned into my brain at this point. I struggle with Centipede and Shiva more than anything else, for sure. Wow, this is going. That was a really unfortunate movement pattern from all them, but it's alright. One thing you'll notice is here is that I'm trying to end every single fight to the closest side of the next screen to minimize my walking, because as you can tell, Aya is a very, very slow walker. Now these frogs have really strange hitboxes. Their tongues extend to their right way further than they do to their left. So if you want to dodge the frog attack, which will do like half your health, you have to kind of dodge it in this fan-shaped motion around the frog's left side. It takes a little bit of getting used to. So right here is a first example of like time-saving RNG. This game has quite a bit of RNG. None of it that like loses you runs. Like you can, if you're getting into the game, you will never have to reset or anything like that. We don't have any reset points. But you can get these small time saves if you get lucky, and we did not get it. It doesn't happen very often, but you'll get an offense too, and you'll skip having to come into this room at all. And then we equip our gun, and we head on out. Day 1, I've done so many times. This first day, Parasite Eve is broken up into 6 days because it kind of tells like a cinematic story. It's supposed to play out kind of like a movie. And so it's broken up. Ooh, nice. So this fight can end in we call it the fast frog fight. Didn't get it. So if you get 2 out of your 3 bullets to crit, and then you do it on the second frog as well, you save a significant amount of time because you don't have to menu. Hey man, this is as fast as this game goes, I promise. Oh man, sorry, my menuing is a little bit sloppy right now. I'll warm my hands up here in a little bit. A slow run, goodness. I can only control how fast she runs by holding circle to make her run. Believe it or not, she has a walk functionality, so if you're not holding circle, she'll just walk. I don't know why. I mean, I feel like her run is so slow that it's like, why would you even put in a system of movement that's slower? Like, what is the purpose? At what point is anybody going to want to walk through anything in any game? I don't know what developers were thinking, but, you know, it is what it is. So we got Eve looking like Cynthia from Rugrats. summoning jelly demons. This is going to be a huge sewer alligator we're about to fight. A lot of people struggle with this fight. It's super timing oriented. It can go. I guess I should preface it by saying a lot of the fights in this game we have strategies for, but the strategies can go amiss, and at that point it's really reactionary if the enemy's not doing what you need it to do. Oh, I'm so sorry about that. That was my text notification. Believe it or not, people want to speak to me at 3:30 in the morning. Alright, wow. That's super lame. So we got trolled. He didn't do his typical movement, which is a bit unfortunate, but we can redeem it. It just means our first turn was a little slow. So just like that, you gotta have a lot of getting good at this game is just knowing when something strange happens or something you don't expect, like what's the next correct decision. And that's really what separates like top tier and like first just one-time runners. Knowing how to improvise and knowing how to like get things back on track so that your strategy can then be re-implemented, or just coming up with a strategy on the fly. And that's really what I love about this game, dude. It's super reactionary. It's very skill testing, even though it doesn't necessarily always look like it. Yeah, it's awesome, man. It's a great game. It really is. If you haven't played it casually, I would at least give it an attempt. You can actually get this game on the PlayStation Store for like $5. And for $5, it's definitely worth it. So this is Daniel, your police partner. He's a cool dude. He's probably my favorite character in the whole game. He's really terrific. But right here, he does mashing. I know that a lot of people take issue with mashing. You don't have to mash like superhuman quick. You just kind of got to get a good rhythm going. Because text can only be mashed so quickly. Some of it is tied to animations. Some of it is tied to, you know, like certain things that, you know, like it has a cap on it. So if you use turbo and set it to the fastest setting, sometimes it doesn't work. Like because it kind of has like I think you can do 4 inputs a second. I think like a 0.25 limit cap. But it's really besides the point. Yeah, the graphics for a 1998 game, the graphics are incredible. This game came out immediately after Final Fantasy VII, so you can just see an immense leap. Not only that, but it's a real-world kind of setting. It's based in like real-time New York, real-day New York, and you know that's something new, especially for Square Enix at the time. They were, you know, they were making mainly fantasy-based games and all these really long fantasy-based RPGs. So that is actually a really respectable day one for a marathon, especially. Everything went relatively well. I would probably reset that for PB's sake, but we're definitely ahead of where I usually am for a marathon, so I'm happy to see that. Yeah, Daniel deals with some crap. Daniel has the curse of being the side character, so he doesn't even get to benefit from like the credibility. He's got to deal with all the stuff. Yeah, you'll see a lot of Final Fantasy VII kind of styles of graphics and things like that. Eve, towards the end of the game, the way she looks is very Genova looking. They got a lot of Final Fantasy VII feeling and flavor to the game for sure, which is really, really cool. We have a boss called Shiva, so that's an obvious Final Fantasy, you know, nod right there as well. It's a super cool game, man. Super undervalued, super underappreciated. I'm hoping that it gets more credibility or more how should I say this? I hope that more runners are attracted to it over time. When I started running it, we had like 8 or 9 runners total, and a lot of them hadn't been active in over a year. And now we have like almost 17. I think we have 17 runs, 16 runs, something like that. So we seem to get new people, every so often, and it's really nice because the game has a lot of speed run ability in my opinion, especially for an RPG. You'll be hard pressed to find a decent quality RPG without much difficulty that falls under 3 hours. So right there, you see me put some stuff away. That's one thing that you got to really pay attention to. Is as you get better at the game, you get better at it usually. But managing your inventory is kind of their survival horror thing that they put into the game is like that inventory management. You only starting out have 17 inventory slots. You get a couple more as I think you end the game at 20, or maybe not. I don't know if I can't remember off the top of my head, but managing how much inventory you have at a certain time is very, very important. You don't want to have extra guns or extra curative items or anything like that because you need the space for certain storyline items that get forced into your inventory. Certain storyline items, certain medicine. You really want medicine in your inventory as well, and the reason for that is a little. We'll kind of see later as I get the CM vest. Definitely interesting. I'd like to try it. I definitely would either emulate it or buy it for $5 on the PlayStation Network. This game is on. You can play it on PS1, PS2, PS3, PSP, PSTV. You can really play it on a lot, man. Inventory management in this game is a bit annoying. Yeah, as far as like the speedrun is concerned, we don't deal with it a ton. Because we dodge picking up junk. There's an item in the game that's literally called junk. Because we don't make use of it, we don't pick any of it up if we can help it. Like there's sometimes when you absolutely have to because it's forced into your inventory or something. But otherwise, we've gotten pretty good about routing out most of the trash that you don't need. The big deal is like poison cures and darkness cures and things like that enemies drop. If they drop a ton, you might have to spend an extra little bit menuing that kind of stuff out. So we do have a few menus in the game where we can kind of consolidate stuff. Like I can say, wow, I have 5 junk I need to get rid of. I'll do that at this menu that I do, 6 screens from now or whatever. So the game has a lot of kind of coming up with stuff. It's really nice. It's super entertaining speedrun. I've done over 600 attempts, and I still have interest in the game every now and then to try and better my time. So. Chinese guy, you must be Maida is Japanese. That's probably who you're talking about. But so right here we're about to see Dr. Clamp. I'll kind of explain the story while we're doing it because it's like just a long mashing cutscene. Clamp he's awful, man. Every time you see him, you're mashing for like an extended period of time. In the story, he's kind of a bad guy. It depends on kind of how you feel about it. But he is, he is a doctor, or he was a doctor, and he got his, practice revoked or whatever. But he is, a lot of the story revolves around him, and we just hate seeing him. We see him, I think 3 times total, and every single time it's like 2 or more minutes of just mashing. It's my favorite game ever, and I always try to find speedrunners of it because it's so enjoyable to relive the game over and over. Man, well, you came to the right place. There's not many of us. But lately it's been a little bit more active than usual. Definitely check out some runs, or maybe learn it yourself. It's not super hard to learn. and it does have a lot of replayability in my opinion, especially for a speed run. I love the game as well, man. It is one of my favorites all time. It just has so much unique functionality. It plays like an RPG it plays like an RPG with kind of an active style of battle feel. It's kind of like if Resident Evil and Silent Hill were like RPG-ish. It's just got a lot of uniqueness to it. And the uniqueness was, the game didn't do crazy well. It was actually never released in any European areas. It was just NTSC consoles, Japan and America. So they, and a lot of the reasons it didn't do super great is because of, people weren't super fond of the way the battle was, of the way the battling system worked and everything. People weren't crazy about the difficulty of the bosses or the inventory management and things like that. And so when they made the second one, they completely changed everything. It's nothing like the first one whatsoever. And yeah, I have played the second one. I don't speedrun the second one. I'm not a big fan of survival horror games or tank controls or anything like that. But I have played it casually. It's very fun as well. If you like Resident Evil and those kind of survival horror games, the second one I would consider it better than any other survival horror game on the PlayStation 1. I think it's amazing. But the first and the second are entirely different, and then the third one is just is pure trash. The third one is called The Third Birthday. We call it The Turd Birthday. It's awful. It's just dreadful. But all three of the games are like their own genre. They're like a different genre. It's really strange. You'd be hard pressed to find a series that all three of the games in the series were completely different games. So I like that. I like that about it. It's got a uniqueness that is unparalleled. There's a third game? Yeah, we pretend it doesn't exist. One time I did like a short interview for this, for like a podcast, and they were like, so you played the first, you played the second, and I was like, yeah, man, the game series is amazing, and both games are really terrific. And they were like, well, what about the third one? I was like, I don't, sorry? You must be mistaken. Third, Parasite Eve. The nerve. Yeah, it's trash. It's awful. I tried playing it because it is on PSP, and it's ugly. This is speed. That's what I'm saying. Makes me think of Dino Crisis. It is pretty Dino Crisis-ish, at least like Dino Crisis 2. The first Dino Crisis is something else. That's a wild game. But right here, we're finally done with all the downtime. We're about to go to Central Park and start doing some stuff. So we're actually making pretty good time as well. So I'm pleased to see that. Oh my god, my menuing is so bad. I should have probably practiced. But I've played this game so many times I could literally play it blindfolded, and I have. And so it's something else. But using the PSP is kind of a chore, so I should always brush up on my menus, but it's whatever. One thing that's important to notice if when you do your gun management, so when you strip guns and put them on a different gun, it gets rid of the gun you're stripping those stats from. So if at any point during the run I accidentally strip the wrong gun, the run is pretty much over. So you'll see me take a couple of these gun menus a little bit slow just to be safe. Is the follow thing messed up tonight? I don't believe so. I don't know what follow thing you're talking about, but I haven't heard anything personally. It's right here. I don't want to explain the story too much until after Worms, because not a whole lot of it has been explained, and it'll kind of make sense. It kind of won't make sense out of context. So I'll wait a little bit, kind of just explain some more of the tech. So obviously you're going to want to move in straight lines and stuff like that, hit low triggers as quickly as possible, or as early as possible so that you don't waste time. But another thing that's pretty big is ATB, especially in this section in Day 2. Parasite Eve, Day 2, can either just gain or lose you a lot of time, simply because of the fact that if you start with bad ATB, it's not really in your control whatsoever. You just kind of get unlucky, and it'll lose you a lot of time if every fight has really bad ATB. So this one right here is pretty average ATB. That's good. This fight goes the same way every single time for the most part. And you'll see I'm ending the fight like way up here at the top of the screen, and the reason for that is so I can just immediately move up. Hey, Plywood! Thank you so much, Plywood. I appreciate you, man. Plywood is another runner of this game. He's a really, really good runner of this game as well, so if you guys are interested, you should definitely check out his runs. Yes, I have watched the movie, so the movie is in its entirety is available on YouTube. It's in about the same quality of the game, like 240p or whatever, but it's if you've played the game, I would definitely watch the movie. It kind of gives you a few chuckles. It's nice to hear the backstory. The game itself was actually based on a novel that then turned into the movie in question in Japan. And they kind of put an Americanized variant of the storyline. The storyline's not the same, but it is similar, and they tie together. So if you are a fan of the series, I would definitely check it out. And yeah, 100% of the movie is free on YouTube. It's not great quality, but I don't know anywhere else you can find it. It is in Japanese, so you're gonna have to deal with subtitles, but it's worth watching if you're a fan of the game. It's kind of neat to see how the stories have intertwining premises and whatnot. Making pretty good pace right now. I like it. So if this box right here, if it gives me a ammo, it has 20% chance to give you ammo and 80% chance to give you a tool. And we don't want to see ammo because we have to lose like 20 or so seconds going and picking up a backup tool. So that was good. Getting decent RNG. Birds are annoying. They can knock you down and stun lock you quite a bit. So learning to like stutter step to deal with them is kind of helpful in just making them less annoying. Oh man, come on, buddy. At least we ended that super healthy. Did lose us a little bit of time though. That's okay. So you see me not picking up this junk. I don't pick up the junk because it is, for the speed run, it is exactly what it sounds like, just junk. I don't even need to heal. Yeah, it is a live action real movie. You'll always see me kill snakes first, and the reason for that is because snakes can poison you with their auto attacks. They will. 100% of the time they'll poison you if you're not already poisoned. And the poison in this game is unreal. It is so strong. Especially at a low level when you don't have a whole lot of health. It is, it's bad. It's bad. It'll kill you easily if you're not careful. So you'll see me reload occasionally. You'll see me prioritize snakes or go a little bit out of my way to make sure that I don't get hit by snakes and poison. Yeah, it's a long movie, but if you know the story of the game, then you won't even realize how long it is, because it's kind of hilarious and bad. Like, it's a bad movie, but it's good because it's so bad, if that makes any kind of sense. Definitely not solid snakes. Definitely not solid. They die. They're quite squishy. So right here we got a little bit more of Eve melting people and whatnot. Pretty cool stuff. This is a really, really cool cutscene. If you're not familiar with the game, the first time you play it through, a lot of the cutscenes are super dope. Granted, when you're speedrunning it and you've reset 1,000 times, they get kind of tiresome, but You know, it is what it is. I like them, for marathon's sake especially, because it's something cool. You can't skip them, so it kind of gives people an opportunity to just check out some really, really off-the-wall and unique animation, so. Never beat the final boss. Oh man, the ultimate being. Fortunately, the final boss stretch is actually quite easy with the strats that we use. We don't struggle with it too much. Most of the bosses in the game we don't really are not too difficult with the strategies that we use. There's a couple that, depending on, you know, how you're doing the run and how safe you're playing it, can definitely give you a bit of a headache. But otherwise, aside from Centipede, nothing is like really out of your control. And that's nice, especially for a speedrun. But casually, especially depending on how you're building your guns and what guns you're using and the stats that you have and stuff like that on your weapons, casually the final boss can be extremely difficult. People all the time ask me, like, what's our strategy to deal with it? And I tell them pretty frequently that it comes down to just what kind of gun you're using. A lot of people want to use things like shotguns or rockets or whatever, and they kind of, the way that we build our guns help us deal with it quite easily. But that's another thing that's really great about this game is because it doesn't have weapon shops or anything like that, the guns that you make are like these MacGyvered weapons that you strip stats from one gun and put it on another, and you can really, like, you know, play the game a couple times through and have a different experience every time based on like the style of weapon you're using, which is pretty dope, especially for a game of this time period. That kind of replayability was not super common. So you saw me pick up a revive there, and revives do exactly what you think. If you die, they bring you back to life. I'm going to be picking up 2. Usually I don't pick them up, but in marathons they can prove to be exceptionally useful. We shouldn't die at any point though, so hopefully we don't see them get used, but if so, it's not the end of the world. Oof. So right here it helps to have great starting ATB. Otherwise I'm going to have to take damage, which sucks. Oh, yeah. Oh, wow, only 2. So I guess I should have mentioned that. That was an error on my part. When you bump into an enemy in this game, you take what's called contact damage. And it is what it sounds like. If you run into them, they kind of bonk you back a little bit, and you take a little bit of damage. And we use that to our advantage a couple times during the run, but otherwise it just kind of annoys you. Kind of puts you into a quarter second of a stun lock, which is sometimes problematic, but otherwise it's not too big a deal. And birds, the issue is they can bonk into you, you take contact damage, and while you're in that stun lock, they attack you again, and kind of another bit of stun lock. So birds can really root you in place if you're positioned poorly, if you get a little unlucky. But that went well. His contact damage pushed me out of his attack range, so this is another really bad ATB fight. You never want to see this, just because of how dangerous snakes are. But if you dodge snakes to the hard left or hard right, you'll most of the time not get bothered by them. And this polar bear that shoots lightning, he's actually pretty kind. He's kind of stupid, pretty slow. You don't worry about him too much. Now right here, if I step too far forward, I'll actually trigger a loading screen. So it's important that we don't move too far forward. What's the best thing you can buy at KFC? Nothing really. I'm gonna say that there is nothing at KFC that is super valuable. Ooh man, this is a really bad fight so far. Okay, cool. So you want to see if you can kill these guys in one turn consistently, if you get a crit on one of the attacks. And I'm going to heal here so that my Parasite energy can recharge in the next fight. There's one thing I like at KFC. I really like the bowl with like the mashed potatoes and the chicken and all that stuff in it. That thing's pretty decent. But yeah, it's like $5 for just that. And it's like, let's be real, mashed potatoes, that's not an expensive item by any stretch. And that's 90% of that bowl, okay? If I went and got a potato and some dino nuggets, I could make that bowl for like 68 cents, okay? Another set of bad ATB. So that is unfortunate. Oh no. So a slight misplay for me right there. You want to deal with the bush first and the birds last, just because the bush can attack you from super far away and poison you as well. But it's okay. So right here I'm going to heal, I'm going to reload my gun, and we're going to go start one of the more problematic bosses in the game. So this is a... okay, cool. I thought I got rid of a tool, started to sweat it a little bit there. This is Worms. A lot of people really dislike this fight, especially in the speedrunning community, but we're going to try a strat that is super difficult and happens almost never, and we already pretty much got screwed. So that's unfortunate. It's just the luck of the draw, really. The worms have a semi-random movement pattern, so sometimes they can just really mess up your day. Yeah, so 121, the strategy I was trying is already dead. But that's okay, we'll just do traditional, the regular strategy that most people use. Okay, cool. So we should be good now. So right here, oh, barely. What we're doing is we're just staggering shots between the two worms so that we kill them on the same turn, because the way the worms work is they I might have screwed myself. Yeah. So the way that the worms work is every time you kill one, the rest of them that are remaining gain HP and size. And the best way to deal with that is to kill them each on the same turn. I'm gonna skip this turn here to get myself back on track. So the strategy I'm doing right now kills 2 worms on 1 turn. Hopefully, if all things go well with crits and whatnot. And the 121 strat, the strat I was trying out right when we started, that fell apart. It kills 3 on 1 turn. So it's the fastest way you can do worms, but it's an insanely difficult fight. It's an insanely difficult strat. It's super RNG dependent and super hard to execute. That was not a terrible worms, all things considered. It wasn't the fastest in the world, but we didn't die, so. Oh, I should probably medicine. Cool. So, using the strategies that we have, a lot of the enemies that really ruin casual playthroughs or really make people think it's a super difficult game, kind of make quick work, and you know, learning them makes a speedrun pretty easy. There's not a whole lot of complexity. Polar bear that shoots lightning, Volibear. Yeah, it is a lot like Volibear. He's a little bit more beat up than Volibear. Parasite Eve has the best soundtrack compared to Parasite Eve 2. I think they're both really good. I'm a little biased. Parasite Eve 1 is a game I really love, so I would agree with that on that front. But I might be a little bit unfair of a judge. Really bad ATB again. So this fight can either be really fast or really slow, depending on how lucky you get, and kind of your positioning here helps you get that as well. Dang it! So that was right in front of her. That was just poor luck. But if she swipes at you with the melee attack, it does a lot of damage, but you can dodge it. Whereas if she goes up into the air like you just saw her do, it's a lot slower, but it's a lot safer. So you want to see her melee attack and dodge it every single time, but you know, it's not always possible. You just kind of got to do what you got to do and see if you can make it through. Hell yeah, that was a rap god. Parasite Eve 2, yeah, so one of the bigger complaints a lot of people have for Parasite Eve 2 is that there's like a 30-minute section where you're literally doing nothing. You're just running, at least in the speedrun. You're just running somewhere. So a lot of the people who run Parasite Eve 1 don't run Parasite Eve 2 because it's a little too much downtime all at once. As this game has a lot of downtime broken up into like little parts. Yeah, Parasite Eve 2, I totally agree with you. Parasite Eve 2 is a game that feels like Resident Evil, and more like Resident Evil and less like actual Parasite Eve. This kind of looks like a mix of Final Fantasy and Resident Evil to me. Well, that's exactly what they were trying to pull off, right? So when Square Enix, Squaresoft, whatever at the time, when they were making this game, they wanted to get into the survival horror space. They wanted to compete with games like Dino Crisis and Silent Hill and Resident Evil and things like that. So Parasite Eve is what they came up with. It just so happens that it ended up being a lot like their Final Fantasy games that they were famous for. It had like aspects of both. And that's what makes it this super, super unique. Only game like it you'll ever see. You can quote me on that. You can look it up. Well, you'll never find a game like this in so many different aspects because it kind of was this weird mesh of a lot of different games at the time that Square Enix was trying to make it do too many things at once, and it created this unique thing all on its own. And now what we love so much about the game is how unique it was. But at the time, what made it unique was that it was just really a bad game. Final Fantasy VIII is actually based off Parasite Eve's engine. As far as the character models and stuff like that. It was an easy translation because Parasite Eve is, obviously real world, and Final Fantasy VIII was less fantasy and a little bit more realistic sci-fi. So they were able to pull a lot of their stuff from Parasite Eve and implement it into Final Fantasy VIII. This game actually turns 20 in about 15 days. And I was planning on doing a 24-hour stream for it, doing a bunch of different categories for speedruns that just are memes and stuff like that. So I might have to push it back to the American release, which is in like September, I think. But we'll see. But yeah, the game is about to be 20 years old. Can you believe that? 20 years old. For a 20-year-old game, come on now. It doesn't look that bad, am I right? It has playability in this day and age. For $5 or for free on emulation, whatever is your method. This is 20 years old, man. I think this game has held up well. I think it's held up a lot better than a lot of other games from the same time period. Yeah, Resident Evil and Dino Crisis are both recently 20, and you're going to tell me this game doesn't look better than both of them? This game looks way better than Resident Evil 2. My personal... Carsey would probably disagree with me on that, but I always tease him at least about Parasite Eve being the best Resident Evil game. Nobody played Sweet Home. Yeah, I definitely didn't play it. I'm not really sure. I know what that is. See, I wouldn't call it a specialty, but my speedrunning type, the type of games that I speedrun are all RPGs. So this is the only Parasite Eve game that I run. Whereas this game is interesting because it brought a lot of Resident Evil, Silent Hill, Dino Crisis style. It brought a lot of those survival horror runners and RPG runners together in this one game. So Plywood, Carcinogen, trying to think of who else. Wolf DNC, those guys are all like primarily survival horror game runners, whereas like myself and Dream Bomb and Primus and pretty much everybody else is like RPG runners. So it's really, really cool. We have like this really dynamic player base of speedrunners that's really, really awesome, man. The community for Parasite Eve is terrific. I'm by far the most annoying person in the community. So, if you can deal with me, you're going to really, really love the community. But right here, while this is happening, I'll explain some of the story. This is Maida's New York apartment. This is pretty much what every apartment in New York looks like. You can pretty much rent this apartment for about $3,000 a month, complete with dumpster fire. I make that joke every time, and I will continue to make it. But basically, at this point, you've kind of put together that Aya is immune to this creature, this beast, Eve, that is able to like light people on fire and melt them and whatever. And for some reason, Aya remains unaffected. So naturally, you are the person that's got to put an end to all of it. Very, very standard storyline for, like I Am Legend and things like that. Like, you're the cure and you got to stop it because, everybody else, gets defeated by it, is killed by it, or whatever you want to call it. But the reason for it is, and this is a huge meme in anybody who's familiar with the games, is because of mitochondria. So mitochondria is the powerhouse of the cell. I don't know if most people should probably know that from grade school biology. But in this game, they kind of make their own science around it. Now, the novel and the movie were about a kind of a crazy chemist, like a biologist. And he had his wife die in a car accident. Now, stricken with grief and super, super depressed and kind of going out of his mind, he took some of her liver cells and cultured them and did this experiment on them. And they kind of took on this life of their own. And the mitochondria in those liver cells pretty much grew in power and were able to summon mitochondria from other beings, other animals, and living creatures around it. And pretty much she can just turn her shapeshift and turn herself into stuff. And she basically took on a human form, just consisting purely of mitochondria. And then she went and wreaked havoc on the world and what have you. Now, in Parasite Eve, the game, that same thing has happened in Japan. And the guy at the blue jacket you just saw, his name is Maeda. He actually went through all of it. So he comes to America to make sure that the same issue isn't happening here. And lo and behold, it is. And Eve is once again running rampant, this time in America, because some of those same cells from the Japanese Eve managed to come to America and infect the singer Melissa that has now turned into to Eve. Now, Aya, being immune, is up to her to attempt to stop it. Well, that's a really good day 2 split. Hopefully that explains the story up until this point, for the most part. But yeah, if you can get time to either read the book or watch the movie, the book is incredible, incredible. And the movie is definitely less incredible. It was made in the mid-90s, so it was kind of a laugh. But if you have time to do either one of those things, I definitely would. It's very, very interesting to see how the stories kind of collide with one another. And it kind of makes you, like, smile and be like, wow, that's crazy, man. I know this, well, I can see how this ties together. It's a cool experience. They did a really good job. A lot of book and game adaptations go awry, and they did a pretty good job with this one. So this is one of the worst screens to have to navigate. The control scheme here is just dreadful. There's a lot of invisible barriers because of the pre-rendered backgrounds that you can't actually tell you can get stuck on, but you can absolutely get stuck on. I'll show you one when we exit this gun shop. So a lot of people really hate navigating this area just because it's so easy to get stuck on stuff and not be able to touch door triggers and things like that. It's one of the more famous complaints about this game, especially in the speedrunning community. Is there a schedule for this event? Yeah, there is. If you do !S, I believe that it'll show you the schedule. So here we get a bunch of stuff so we can make a better gun. It shouldn't have any PP. Oop. I'll probably sort. Cool. So yeah, I'm going to take all those menus that involve guns really, really slowly. If I screw it up, I'm going to have to, I don't know what we'll do. The run is basically dead. But check this out real quick. So you see this? Look how far away I am from this thing, and I still get stuck on it. It's unreal. And there's like 50 of those spots here. And this is a lot of people's least favorite area, even though there's no boss fights or anything like that. I'm going to pick up a second revive right here, just so that I can guarantee that the run will finish without much difficulty. Outside of picking up these 2 revives, there's not a whole lot of change from the strats I use in my PB attempts to what we do in marathons. I think I'm the only person who's run this in a marathon, besides the one who was at RPG Limit Break a couple years ago. And the strats have definitely changed significantly since. But if I'm trying to think off the top of my head if anybody else has, and I think that just the 2 revives is really all you would ever change for everybody else. It's really weird. But yeah, it's just that if you heal more in fights and you utilize those revives, the run is much easier. Yeah, you would rather take the boss fights occasionally. Man, there's a couple bosses in this game that I would love to fight. They're super easy. Now this is just mashing for a little bit. We get introduced to Shiva. Oh, I'm so sorry. Bumped to my mic. Yeah, casually, there you can just pick up so much stuff. Really, casually, when you're playing the game, when you get to there, it's really when you can just kind of make whatever gun you want. You have so many options available that you can just make a crazy wild gun, and at that point is kind of where you decide, what path your weapon is going to take, and you play around with it, and you have a lot of options. So yeah, so casually, that's a treasure trove right there, man. But in the speed run, we have a few things we pick up, and a lot of the door triggers are hard to hit and stuff like that, so it's a little stressful. But right here, we just find out more about the story. It's basically Maeda, the guy in the blue jacket from Japan. He's showing her what cells that are vulnerable to the Eve mitochondria look like, and that's this cutscene here. And then the next cutscene is showing the same mitochondria trying to attack one of Aya's cells, and he's basically showing the difference. We didn't really need a minute's worth of cutscenes to know that Aya's immune. We kind of could have. You should have been able to figure that out up until this point, but it is what it is. Go ahead and explain it for the people who weren't paying too much attention in a casual playthrough. But the cutscenes in this game are beautiful, which is good because the run is like 38 minutes, I think, of cutscenes. Or somewhere around there. Maybe it's closer to 36. But yeah, lots of cutscenes in the game. This game was sold. It was supposed to be like a movie game, like a cinematic RPG. And so the cutscenes are gorgeous. For this time period, man, they're great. They're terrific. And comparing it to the game that came out before it, Final Fantasy VII, I mean, just look at this. It's a significant upgrade. Significant. A lot of people nowadays will look and be like, this is terrible graphics, but you got to consider what was coming out around the same time period, early 1998. This was really top of the line at the time, and it's a shame that the game didn't do better. It did go greatest hits, but just barely. Yeah, it is very 90s. It is very 90s for sure. But like the Opera House cutscene in the very beginning, super cool cutscene. Really cool. This is day 3. I failed to mention that, but this is day 3, and day 3 is home to my least favorite boss in the entire game. Yeah, Parasite Eve 3 is literally just fan service, trash gameplay. That's all it is. I think there's like scenes where she's like in scantily clad clothing and stuff like that, and it's like, that's not the Aya Brea I know. You know what I mean? Parasite Eve 3 is so bad. It's bad. It's not Parasite Eve. We don't claim it. I think I speak for everyone in the Parasite Eve community when I say that we don't take ownership of that. That does not belong to the franchise. Like Parasite Eve 2 has enough fan service in it with the whole shower ordeal. They didn't need any more of it in Parasite Eve 3. They should have realized that people didn't care. And it's also a PSP exclusive, And when a game goes straight to PSP, that's how you know it's a bad game. That's like the equivalent of going straight to VHS or straight to DVD. Yeah, exactly. There's a lot of game series where they have one game and they're like, we're going to pretend that one is not a thing. There's a Resident Evil game that's like that as well. What is it, 4 or 5, something like that? Yeah, exactly. That's a good point, Federal. Um, they kind of had not only to make up their own science to justify this plot line, but the technology and everything. In 1998, we didn't have super incredible technology, so they were kind of coming up with with their own spin of what would be considered super high tech and things like that. So right here is the only skip in the game. Nobody really. It's tied to how like a pattern of how fast you mash, and we didn't get it. That's good. Every time I get it, it curses my runs. But right there, as you saw, like the Dr. Clamp, he kind of like walked in and turned that monitor off. If you mash at a certain pace, you'll skip that animation of him walking, and it'll just cut to the next scene. It saves like less than a second, but it exists. It's a thing that it's funny to pay attention to, but it means very little more outside of that. We call it the clamp skip curse in my stream because every time I get it, it usually means bad things. The science is pretty interesting, and it's also cool though because like no matter what happens in the game, you're like, why does that happen? And you're like, man, they can do whatever they want because the science backs it up, right? Why did this happen? Because of the mitochondria, man. Like, come on now, obviously. So it's definitely not the worst science plotline I've ever heard in a movie or a game, that's for sure. Like, it makes reasonable sense to a degree. Some of it is just kind of like out of left field, but, that's... You got a lot more stuff that makes sense than stuff that doesn't. So, I appreciate that about the game. They tried, It was a weird time. It was the late 90s. Science wasn't a thing. Science didn't get discovered technically until, like, what, 06? Yeah, and you also got to remember that this, like, all of this stuff is like in the world of realism. So like if you're making an alien movie or an alien game, the science can be completely different because you're dealing with something that's, not of this earth, not of like reality for people. Now having to make up a science that would fit in with like a real world kind of scheme is a little bit different. It's a little bit more of a chore in my opinion. So this screen has terrible depth perception. It's really hard to gauge how far away you are from the enemies you're fighting. But outside of that, it's not too bad. You'll notice now, and I'll kind of explain it while I mash here, that my gun targets randomly. Yeah. I don't know what happened in 2006. I just chose a random year to make that claim. But my gun targets randomly, and the reason we do this, we do it on purpose. Because it adds an extra bullet. When you have the random targeting effect, your gun has a really high chance of firing an extra bullet that doesn't apply to the damage resistance penalty. So if you have a gun that rate of fire times 2, it'll fire 2 bullets, and those 2 bullets will do 66% damage, right? They won't do 100% damage, otherwise it would be broken, and you could just do rate of fire 9 and one-shot everything. But rate of fire 2 is 66% damage for each bullet, and the random bullet that comes out for free does not apply to that, so it comes out at 100% damage. And it adds so much DPS, especially on single target fights throughout the game, that random targeting is really the fastest way to go. And one thing is, you saw me take that fight earlier, and when I came back out of that door, because I went back through the screen that I had previously fought on, there was a 50% chance of me to get that fight again. Same thing with this screen. So encounters in this game don't really work on a random system. What happens is you're guaranteed to get a fight on certain screens, right? Well, when you backtrack through that same screen later, you then have half the chance to get that encounter again. and it goes down by half every single time you go through that screen. So if I go through a screen 4 times, every time I go through, I'm going to get half of a chance to get it. So from 100% to 50% to 25 to 12 and a half. We only go through one screen more than twice, and we only go through like, what, 13 screens more than once, I think? Something like that. But every time you backtrack through a screen you've already been on that you had to take a fight, you have the chance of taking that fight again. So as far as like making the run really fast, you want certain fights and you want to not get certain fights. And we don't want either of the two here, and we didn't get either one. Wow, so we're really, really good pace. That's nice. Ideally, you'd want, there's 2 fights here, and we dodged them both, and then in the next day, there's 4 in the hospital, and we don't want any of those. If we have to take a certain amount of random encounters, because we need to be a certain level by the end of the game, and, oops, I screwed something up. Yeah, that's right. Might as well get rid of that. Cool. We need to be level 33 by the end of the game, but the encounters in the days 3 and 4, they don't give very much experience, so if we have to take random encounters, we'd rather take the ones towards the end of the game that give us more EXP and we have stronger weapons for. So as far as like speedrunning and doing the game fast, that's what's most important as far as good luck is concerned. Are you guys getting scientific in chat? That's interesting. That's definitely different than most of my Parasite Eve chats, that's for sure. Usually we end up talking about like what fast food chain is better. So right there you saw me take a little bit of time to wait out those attacks, and the reason is because the spider webs will slow you, and slow is awful in this game. Because your attacks, your ability to heal, pretty much your ability to do anything in a fight is completely tied to your ATB, and your movement as well gets slowed. So having your ATB and your movement be slow is definitely a super downside. You never want to have that happen. So slow is by far one of the worst things in the game. Slow and blind are probably the 2 worst status effects you can get. Yeah. Yeah, it's crazy. Most of my Parasite Eve marathons, I did a, what was it? Was it Questing for Glory? I did on RPG LB's stream. I think that was the one that turned into an all-out, like, war over what fast food chains were the best and stuff. So this is Shiva. She's my least favorite boss in the entire game because most of my runs die here. I equipped a vest a few screens back, and that vest, the CM vest, the chemical vest in this game, this is the second one. There's one earlier on, and there's a CM vest protector a little bit later as well. Anytime you fall below a certain threshold of HP, those vests will use whatever strong medicine you have in your inventory is. So they'll heal you, basically. You fall below a certain HP, and your vest will heal you for you, and you don't have to do it. So it's a super incredibly good item, and we make a lot of really good use out of it. Now the situation with Shiva is that all of her abilities, they kind of work around that threshold, so she's able to snipe you without your vest being able to have had a chance to cure you because of the amount of damage she can do with her abilities. And that's why I hate her, because usually I don't pick up revives. You just gotta YOLO it, and hopefully she doesn't beat the crap out of you. And oftentimes, she does. Wow, that's a really unfortunate HP total. So we're gonna reload our gun here. I'll probably use a medicine. Yeah, that's fine. So here we go. I have 2 revives, so this shouldn't be an issue whatsoever. We might use one of the revives here. If we do, it's not the end of the world. But this is primarily why I pick up the revives, is for this specific fight. I can't tell you how many runs of mine end here because she just you know, she does a certain amount of attacks in a certain order, and you just get murdered. And that's just Shiva for you. So that attack right there immediately half health you. Whatever HP you're at, it'll do half your HP. And then that bite can do a ton of damage. So right there you see me, I took contact damage on purpose in order to force my vest to heal itself. So that's one instance of us using... Also another thing I forgot to mention is she heals herself, which just makes the fight take a lot longer. So yeah, Shiva is pretty much just the worst. She will either kill you or slow you down, and you lose runs either to getting dead or getting a lot of time lost. And oh my god! Come on! Come on! And because your gun targets randomly, you know, you can't target one head like you would do casually. Dang it! I was doing that slow, so I didn't pick up that gun, and I picked it up anyways. Oh well, not terrible, not terrible. We didn't die, so that's nice. But we did see 3 heals, and that's really annoying. Every time she heals, it's basically 2 turns lost. So that was an extra 6 turns that fight took because she healed so many times. There was one time I watched her heal 7 times in one fight. I was just cracking up, man. She's the worst. She is just the worst. Yeah, I agree. I think PlayStation 1 monster designs were very creative and very obscure and kind of abstract in certain cases. In this game, you'll notice that especially because they basically kind of did what they wanted with them. But you're absolutely right. This game made in this day and age, people would probably have a problem with you gunning down a dog in the middle of a police station. Complaining about healing after the Sun Knight battle. Yeah, I'm glad you're here, man. I'm glad you enjoyed the White Knight Chronicles strats. This game is considerably better than White Knight Chronicles. There's a lot more to talk about. There's a lot more going on. And it's just not a trash game. White Knight Chronicles is so bad. I can't believe I submitted that, and I can't believe Sloa allowed it. I'm just happy we finished it. It was a good run. Right here, you can actually save a lot of frames by moving this and you don't see Aya's character model come onto the screen, and it is not only faster but saves you a tiny bit of lag. Yeah, exactly. Budgets, not only are budgets big, but you know, a lot of the money coming from producers or sponsorships or other partnered companies. It's a lot harder to do risky stuff these days because you have obligation and responsibilities to people other than just your studio. Not just that, but you know, there's millions and millions of dollars dumped into the success of this game. You're going to do what you know works. And because of that, we're seeing this period of time where people would rather speedrun or just replay old games because the gaming market is stale and expensive. Paying $60 to $80 for a new game with not half the amount of time of casual playthrough hours as a game that came out in the mid-90s for a fraction of the cost. I think video gaming, as far as like current generation things, are just in a bad spot because most of the budget goes towards this groundbreaking animation and stuff like that, making the game run really well, but you miss a lot of these really well thought out plots and storylines and character development situations and things like that. So, you know, that's just the future, I'm afraid. Yeah, when you got that much money tied up, you're going to do what you know works as opposed to take a risk on making the next big thing. Which is a reason that a lot of these indie games are seeing such immense success. It's because, you know, games like Cuphead and stuff like that, they were able to do what they wanted because they had no obligation to anybody other than themselves to do well. And because of that, they were able to make something incredible. Whereas you won't see these really, really incredible, unique, off-the-wall, kind of strange games from these big AAA companies because, you know, they're not going to take that kind of risk. Americans are expensive. I can't wait for Ni no Kuni 2, though. That being said, I am looking forward to Ni no Kuni 2. It's the first game that's not on PS1 that I've really been excited for. So Maida, he gives you what you just saw him give me. He gives you a bunch of those. He gave me one in the police station as well. They're literally useless. They're just storyline items, and they do nothing but take up space in your inventory. So appreciate it, Maida. How was the game audio for you guys? Can you hear the game well? There's a lot of music, but the game is overall pretty quiet. So I wanted to make sure you guys could hear the music, especially in here. I think this is one of my favorite sounds in the whole game, is the hospital soundtrack. I really dislike the hospital. It's just long, and the random encounters here stink, or the repeat encounters, I should say. And I mean, the boss is a pushover, so it's not even like super interesting or fun to play through. It's just kind of a lot of running. I really prefer the museum to this. Shoot, I even prefer the sewers to this, which is crazy to think. But the music here makes it playable. I think the music here is really great. Audio is good, terrific. I'm really glad to hear that. Yeah, and PUBG is actually having issues right now. With, you know, it's just hard. They made a game that did so well on without it being technically really released. So where's the motivation for them to finish it? You know. And like, what more could you add? That's part of the reason that Fortnite is starting to crush it so heavily, as of lately. So back once upon a time, like right as I started running this, or a little bit before, people used to reset here. I think the first run I ever did, I had to reset, save and reset over this. But almost immediately after, Primus, incredible runner, really great runner of this game. He put together all the speedrun notes that taught me how to play the game. And he came up with a backup strategy, so we no longer have to reset over the 50-50 dice roll here anymore, over which gun we get, which is incredible for not only marathons, but for people who are interested in learning the game, knowing that there's no reset points and things like that. And with that strategy that he came up with, another strategy that I came up with later on was not allowed, but was able to happen. Because of the new route we take with our guns. So shoutouts to Primus for contributing just an absolute ton to this game and being an incredible runner of it as well. Like, look at Legend of Dragoon, right? I would consider Legend of Dragoon my favorite game of all time. Oh, I need a sword. We're going to get rid of all the stuff we don't need here and use all this stuff just because the hospital has a lot of drops, and I want to make sure that I get most of them because they're usually medicine. Also, you got to pick up a lot of story items, and I want to make sure my inventory is not so cluttered that I have to, you know, pick it up, have it fail, menu that stuff out, and then try again. But Legend of Dragoon, one of my favorite games of all time, in my opinion, the greatest RPG of its time. You know, that was not a Squaresoft game. That was not a, you know, that was not a AAA company at the time by any stretch. So right there, you saw me take a lot of damage. I did that on purpose. I wanted to make sure that I healed to a high HP before the end of this fight. Alright, so this is one room where we can get the encounter again, and we did. So that's unfortunate. So we're 1 for 3 on repeat encounters. Ideally, we want to go 0 for 6, but I can't remember a time that that's happened. Oh, also, the reason I'm dodging the green slime is it applies a slow effect. These bees are super annoying. And they throw 2 of them out. Nice. Getting a lot of medicine though, so that's good. PS1 RPGs are my favorite things of all time. Bar none. Bar none. Not even close. That's why I was super happy to see games like I Am Setsuna and stuff like that, which are kind of trying to, you know, build around that old turn-based style of, you know, RPG and whatnot. I really, really appreciate that games are trying to do that. So right here we get the Micro Uzi or the M10. We want the Micro Uzi. It's the better, faster gun. And we got the M10. That's okay. So in the past I would have had to save and reset over that. But thanks to Primus' strat that he came up with, which doesn't actually lose us hardly any time. Oops. Now I gotta be very careful about this. M11, M10, M79, M10, M92F, M10, and that's it. I'm gonna get rid of this. Oh, did I equip it? Yeah, okay, cool. Alright, cool. So that's the gun menu that if I screw up, I can't finish. But yeah, so that's almost exactly halfway through the run, and you would have to reset. Now, I don't care that much, because like I run a lot of long games. This is actually this is the shortest game I run, being right around 3 hours. So resets don't phase me as much, but as far as like if you're wanting to learn and to get new runners interested and stuff like that, having a reset point an hour and 20 minutes in, or you know, even longer sometimes, is it's really, really unfortunate. So super glad that we were able to phase that out. Shout outs to Primus and that incredible job that he did there. I've never played Sweet Home. I have not. I don't even know what that is. Is that a survival horror style of game? Puzzles or backtracking. So I played an RPG that was riddled with puzzles. It was it's actually the first RPG ever made on the PlayStation. On the PlayStation 1. It's called Beyond the Beyond. It came out in 1995. It was made by Camelot, the same people who make what is it? What is that Pokemon style of game that they made? Golden Sun, as well as the Shining Force games or whatever. And it was riddled with puzzles and just pure trash encounter rate. Man, that is one of the hardest games to play through I've ever played. My speed run of it was dreadful, but I had a laugh, and it gave me that much. So right here I'm taking damage on purpose so that I can heal up without having to do an extra menu. Oh, I must have weak medicine. That sucks. So that actually didn't help me too much. I'm gonna have to heal anyways. Nice. Cool. Yeah, so I speedran Beyond the Beyond, and I had to do it in Japanese because the Japanese version is way broken compared to the American version. And oh man, it took almost 10 hours. It wasn't supposed to, but it did. That is a bad game. If you want to talk about bad RPGs, man, that is something else. I've not played Detention. A run of Digimon World 3? Is it turn-based RPG? Because I considered running Digimon World 1, and for personal reasons I won't disclose, I chose not to. But I do love that game franchise, so I might consider that if it's... I don't mind it being long. I don't mind long games at all. I'm one of those people that, yeah, I'll do 10-hour runs. It's not a big deal. Dang it. So that was a huge misplay on my part. So yeah, as you can see, slow is just garbage. Your ATB moves at a non-existent pace. So right here, you're going to see me end at a certain spot on the screen, and that's so that I immediately transition into this cutscene. Yeah, Digimon World 1 is a really fun game to play casually. I had a lot of joy playing it. It's kind of difficult, but the speedrun has, yeah, it's become super optimized. And it's a cool speedrun if you're willing to learn RNG manip and stuff like that, but I had other reasons I disliked it and chose not to. Yeah, it's almost Earthbound meticulous RNG manipulation with movement and stuff like that. I never played the second one. I didn't like that in the ones that came after you had multiple Digimon. I liked the fact that you had one, and it was like kind of like the the show was, where it's like you had one Digimon and that was your Digimon. Okay, so we didn't get that fight. That's the worst fight to get again. So we're 1 for 4. Okay, 2 for 5. This is if we're gonna get an encounter in the hospital, this is the one to get. It's super fast compared to the others. And I promise I'm not bad. I'm taking damage on purpose to minimize the amount of menus I have to do. See, I'm not a dungeon crawler guy. I'm not a dungeon crawler guy. Wow. 3 for 6 is really bad, especially because all 3 of them were in the hospital. That's really bad. I'm going to take a little bit of time to make sure that I dodge here. I don't want to use up too much of my medicine because it's helpful to have a couple on the spider fight here in a little bit. Dang it. Bad drops. Criminal Girls. No, I have not. I have not played Criminal Girls. I just wish that Digimon World and the ones that came after it would have been the turn-based RPG games that they are, but with a single Digimon as opposed to a team. I wish it would have been a combination of the first one, because I liked the single Digimon aspect of the first one. I just didn't like the, the silliness of the plot line and whatnot, I guess is what I would call it. Oops. I do one heal here because this boss can, or this enemy can sometimes just do really strange amounts of damage for no reason. Oh god. Well, that was so weird. Well, we got really lucky. And then we got unlucky on the drop, but it's alright. Huh, interesting. Yes, a frame perfect door. Nice. So one thing you'll notice in this game if you do speedrun it is that the hitting certain doors in certain ways will cause Aya to kind of have this walking animation as she walks to the handle of the door. And if you hit it a certain way, you can avoid that walking animation. It's almost frame perfect, and it's it doesn't really save a whole lot of time, but it's fun to try to do. Just keep yourself entertained. So right here, you're going to see me use Energy Shot for the first time in the run. And that's to deal with these mixed men. These mixed men are the worst. They don't really do anything besides slow you down. Because they have one attack that slows, which is what he just did. And then the other attack is they just release this ball that bounces around the screen. So when you just like that. So when your gun targets randomly, the worst thing that can happen is for you to be not only slowed, but have an additional target for no reason. Yeah, that fight didn't go great. That's alright. Wow, and I just got trash. It just loaded me up with garbage. I don't know why this is here. So it's like we hid this button by moving this whatever in front of it. But we have this huge sign that says, hey look, this is where the button is. Weird choice in game design, but whatever. Oops. I'm gonna heal here just because this fight can, I can die. They can do 100 damage pretty easily. Just want to make sure that I'm not gonna get killed for no reason. So what you just saw there was a weird example of frame perfect invincibility frames that just happen every so often. I was able to take 0 damage from that attack and not get bothered by the slowing effect. That happens occasionally. There's only one fight in the whole game where we actually can make it happen, like we can force it, and we definitely make use of it when that fight comes. So the hospital definitely slowed me down. That's unfortunate. What a bummer. My goodness. Come on now. Nice. So right here I'm going to do some menuing because I have to pick up 2 items that are forced into my inventory. I want to make sure I have space for them. I'm going to keep 1 cure 2 because later on we have to, or 1 cure P, I'm sorry. Later on we get poisoned by centipede, and it's helpful to have a cure P in your inventory. You pick up 1 on the way there, but if you happen to not get the lucky drop to get that, then it's nice to have 1 just in your inventory just in case. Or sorry, let me catch up on chat really quick. I'm curious what places in the game that you do not need to do that show up on the map. A lot of them. You don't have to go to the warehouse. You don't have to go to the Chrysler building. I'm trying to think of what else. I don't actually even know all the places on the map except for the ones that we go to. I can list the ones that we go to though. Soho, Chinatown, the museum, the hospital, the NYPD, and that's it. Technically, we go to Central Park, although we don't choose it. The game chooses it for us. But yeah, those are the 6 locations we go to. I think there's, what, 9 locations total or something like that. But that's a lot of content that we skip out on, basically. Because it's not necessary. The warehouse has a lot of cool weapons, but the boss that guards those weapons is actually quite difficult, especially at the low level that we would try to take him on during the speedrun. If you get the micro Uzi, you do go to the warehouse, but only the very, very beginning of it. You actually don't go inside. So this boss is a huge pushover. It's not usually very difficult. If you have medicine, it'll usually just pretty much take care of you without any issue. Nice. That's a lot of attacks for phase 1. Would you rather have a hand made of McDonald's chicken nuggets that grows back when you're asleep and doesn't feel pain if you eat, or have nipples dispense Big Mac sauce? I have to feel like I'm going the nugget hands pretty easily. And then right here to finish him off, you're gonna see me energy shot. Oop, definitely not slow. I'm not crazy about Big Mac sauce. And that's the spider, guys. That's literally all it takes to beat the spider in this game. Very trivial boss, very easy. Which is crazy because casually, it's one of the bosses that people struggle with the most. I don't know why, I don't know what people do differently, but I've had a lot of viewers say, "Oh my god, I can't believe you did that. Like, you know, it took me days to beat him or whatever." And I don't know what people do differently, but you just literally shoot him. I guess the CM vest that we use that heals us, our healing vest, really does make a lot of the game easy. How could you speedrun if you got hungry and ate one of your hands while playing White Knight Chronicles? I feel like you could easily play White Knight Chronicles with one hand. Ni no Kuni I definitely need. Not only both hands, but I use almost every single finger at certain points of playing Ni no Kuni. Parasite Eve I could probably do with one hand as well. If my hand was chicken nuggets, I think I have bigger things to worry about than speedrunning. I remember struggling so bad on that boss. Yeah, a lot of people say that. They'll be like, wow, you know, the spider is one of the hardest bosses in the game. And in the speedrun, it's the opposite. He's one of the ones that you don't even really pay attention to. You shoot him until he goes to phase 2. Shoot him a couple more times and then energy shot and it's over. So right here, you actually have to run to a certain side of the screen. You can't see a timer, but there's actually an invisible timer ticking. And if you don't make it here fast enough, the game is over. You die. A lot of people... a lot of people don't know that that's what they're supposed to do, or don't know where they're supposed to escape. So a lot of people that play casually will just run around the roof trying to figure out what the hell is going on and die and lose runs, because the game does not explain to you very well that what your goal is or how you're supposed to do it. So that's pretty funny. Problems with the crab? Yeah, we don't deal with the crab, thank God. I've done the crab. I've done all bosses. Parasite Eve run just for me. It's not a real category, but I did it for fun. And the crab I had to do as well. And my God, that crab is something else. He is no joke. I think that's why I think the crab is the hardest boss in the whole game. I think it's, especially with like, granted, I never played the game casually. I learned it as a speedrun, and then I kind of played it slowly afterwards from time to time. So I didn't have the experience, like I knew strats going into it. So I didn't struggle with a lot of the bosses that I guess people would casually. But then when I went to the crab, where we didn't have a strategy for, I got bodied. The crab is no joke. Why isn't all bosses a real run? I don't know. I mean, it's just kind of a category that I don't know if many people would run. It's not really pertinent to finishing the game at all. It's just kind of for fun. But the day that I do my 24-hour Parasite Eve marathon, that'll be one of the categories I do. So, yeah, Ni no Kuni 2 is coming out next month, March 23rd. It comes out. Ooh, another frame perfect door, nice. I'm super excited. I've already routed I've routed the speedrun for every playable and demo area that they've released a video for, man. I am obsessed with Ni no Kuni 2. I'm super stoked. And I'm running the first one at RPG Limit Break if anybody plans to attend or watch that and is interested in seeing Ni no Kuni be speedrun. I'll be doing it there, so. But yeah, all bosses is actually hella cool. Because you get to see if, like, I think we had 3 more bosses. There's one in the hospital, one in the sewers, and one in the warehouse. It's really fun. Another run I'll be doing for meme purposes during my 24-hour stream is a club %. Go through the entire game using nothing but a melee weapon. And then I'll probably do the game blindfolded as well. I think that all those things together will probably be pretty close to 24 hours. Yeah, same, dude. I gotta start budgeting a little bit better, but I'm prepared. I was prepared ahead of time just in case Will I run it with Japanese audio? That's actually a donation incentive. Oh my God. One of our donation incentives is actually you want English or Japanese audio. So I run it with English audio just because, you know, I've never bothered to change it. I actually have my game nearly muted. So it's never really been it's never really bothered me whatsoever. And then we have another runner, Quaspulm, who runs the game in Japanese. And I think the voice acting for both of the games are really good. I really like the silliness of the English voice acting, like Drippy being this Welsh guy and everything. But the Japanese voice acting is like super dramatic, very, you know, it fits the plot really, really well. Shadar and Cassiopeia, the 2 big bosses in Ni no Kuni, are incredibly well voiced in both the English and the Japanese. Yeah, I mean, if you care about what language it's in and you are watching RPG Limit Break, feel free to prepare to donate. That was one of the incentives we decided on when I discussed them with Pewexel. Yo, if somebody ordered a pizza to RPG Limit Break During my run, that would be the most. Oh my god, I'm just thinking about it now. That would crack me up. If you order a pizza and the guy and you write in there, "I'll be at this building. Walk inside. I'll be the one playing the game," and the pizza man came up to me on stream and handed it to me. Oh, that would be the greatest thing that's ever happened. But so far the schedule has not been released, so I don't know when I will actually be going. But I will be there, and I will be running Ni no Kuni. Right here, I'm gonna do a quick menu. If we got the micro Uzi, we would have done this menu in the warehouse. Oh my goodness. Oh, you know what? That's funny. I didn't do. Oh, that was a bad idea. This is one of the worst fights in the whole game because you can get blinded, and it's really hard to deal with, especially because I just used all my Parasite energy like an idiot. Alright, cool. So blind lasts 4 turns. Oh, that was bad. Blind lasts 4 turns, and it does exactly what it sounds like. It blinds you. You can't hit anything. And the way that the pretty much any pizza with pineapple on it is the worst pizza combo possible. Go ahead and at me. But the way that enemies, so like if an enemy poisons you, it'll drop an item that cures poison. If an enemy blinds you, it'll drop an item that cures blindness. Well, the issue with these bats is that we actually haven't fought anything that gives you a blindness cure up until we fight those 3. So you're not able to have access to an item that gets rid of that status effect until you've already dealt with it, which is kind of silly. Right here is probably the worst random encounter in the entire game. Thankfully, we didn't get it. So that means we are 3 for 7. Right here is another one. 3 for 8. All right, cool. Actually, I really like anchovy. Hey, Kirito86, thank you so much, man. You have a great night. Don't feel bad, man. Glad that you stuck around. I'm glad that you're enjoying the marathon, and it was nice having you, man. Have a great night. I actually really like anchovies. Extra cheese, yeah. Pineapple and extra cheese right there is enough for me to be like, nah. But anchovy pizza is not bad. Oh yeah, it won't work because of the pineapple, but just anchovy pizza I'll eat. But yeah, pineapple and anchovy, anything with pineapple is just bad. Pineapple does not belong on pizza. I think we can all agree. Oh, I got so lucky. So I took a risk right there. I didn't want to have to use a cure for my blindness. So I just prayed that I got the 10% chance to hit him, and I did. So that was nice. You like pineapple? I love pineapple, don't get me wrong. Pineapple is probably my favorite fruit on earth. I just don't like it when it's warm. You know what I mean? Fruit being warm, it just, I don't know, it kind of does something for me I'm not a fan of. So pineapple, if you want to give me pizza with a side of pineapple, I'll do that all day. See, I don't even like it then. When most people use it in like pork dishes or chicken, even then I'm not a big fan. I don't like warm fruit, man. It's just a texture thing or something, I would have to say. Oh, okay, in pie, yeah, you got me. In pie, most def. I eat pie like, pie is my weakness, man. Pie and pizza rolls are the 2 things that I will eat until I am blue in the face. So right there we had a short 43-second cutscene. That's usually when I go to the bathroom if I have to. Speedrun bathroom. Warm fruit gate. Pineapple on pizza. Oh, we brought out the lurkers for that one. Triple pineapple, extra cheese. Oh, I like thin crust, so whatever it would be the opposite. Also, I don't eat mushrooms, so if you threw mushrooms on there as well, then you would definitely be memeing super hard. My roommates could easily tell you the worst pizza to order for me. They're talking about ordering the. Oh, I forgot something. They're talking about the worst pizza combination, and I was like, that's not hard for me, man. I don't like a lot of stuff. Yeah, no, I actually am. I'm not allergic to anything. Well, that's what they were like. We're gonna order a pizza to you during your RPG limit break thing, and make him deliver it to you on camera. And they said pineapple and mushroom and stuff, extra cheese. I was like, blah, blah. Unfortunately, I'm not allergic to. Unfortunately, I'm not allergic to anything. Bummer. So right here is Centipede. This fight can go a number of different ways. I'm gonna pick up an extra medicine just to make it a little bit safer. Centipede is famously the, especially for people learning the game as a speedrun, he's probably the hardest boss in the whole game. I struggle with him from time to time still, just because he is, oops, yeah, I'm gonna get punched. Just because he is a, he splits into multiple parts, and because our gun targets randomly, it's really easy to just screw that fight up really badly. Okay, so I'm gonna get rid of some of these Cure Ds. Don't need 2 Cure Ps. Probably, ooh, dang. Alright, cool. Ooh. Yeah, our ammo count is great. Alright, nice. Penicillin pizza would probably kill me. Alright, guys, so I'm going to avoid chat for just a second while I do this fight. There is actually a strategy in this fight that we can make a lot of use of, if you can get it. Oh my god, I dodged the poison. That never happens. I'm so bad at it. Terrific. So we haste on the second turn, and the reason for that is because when he splits, if you actually input an attack right as he splits, your target, all of your bullets will go to the same target, and not randomly target. See, they all went to that target. That was actually really good. And then what you do is you energy shot the body piece that did not get hit when it split. It one-shots that. This body piece that's now that took all those damage, it's only 1 hit away from death. So there you go. So Centipede goes from a 4-enemy fight to a 2-enemy fight. This is an incredibly well done fight so far. And now you just sit here and pray that you hit it. That's pretty much Centipede for you. And let your medicine carry you. But you can see that if you stand in the middle, you're actually not within range to hit it, which sucks. So you just gotta hope that you're gonna hit the side you're closest to. Very nice. Very nice Centipede. That was an amazing Centipede. My god. I'm super happy with that. Oops. Oops, use medicine. I should have just used that one medicine. Get rid of that and we're good to go. Wow, great fight, man. Super pleased with that. Hey, it's Palmer. Hey, man, what's going on? Oh, Circles, how you doing today, man? You're allergic to penicillin. Wow, that really is a shame. That is a hard thing to be allergic to. It has a lot of really good application. Oh, I am allergic to one thing. I just remembered. Bacitracin, Aquaphor, those kind of like, you know, like those medicated ointments. I'm allergic to those. They just make me break out in a rash. Not like they won't kill me or nothing. So don't put that on the pizza, I guess. Where is RPG Limit Break hosted? It's in Salt Lake City, Utah. It's at the Officers Club building. And it is in May 12th, or May 13th through 19th, I believe. Wow, so we got this repeat encounter. That sucks. So now we are 3 for 10, I think, right? Oh, nice. My sister is allergic to acetaminophen. Oh yeah, yikes. That's in everything. That is in everything. That's Tylenol. That sucks. God bless her. All good. Missed a tournament I want to do just now because of stupid stuff. Oh, man, I'm sorry to hear that, dude. Tournament for what, if you don't mind my asking? And yeah, I am good as well, man. Getting to run Parasite Eve is always a good time. Turns her blood to acid? Are you just memeing us? Or are you being for real? Because that's like a bad allergy. Oh, Melee, hell yeah. Dude, I love me some Melee. I love Melee. I'm terrible, just dreadful at the game, but I love watching it. What do you call it? Melee? Melee? I've always called it Melee. Is that not right? There's 3 Domino's pizzas in that part of Salt Lake City? Hell yeah. You already know. We're going through. That's crazy, man. That is crazy to be allergic to something like that. Super Smash Brothers Melee. You ever seen that little commercial thing? It was like this game show they did back in the day. I'm a filthy Hungry Box fan, so you might lose respect for me after knowing that. I have a Hungry Box shirt. Okay, cool. Yeah. Yo, my boy H-Box, the god, the king. #1 in the world, #1 in your heart, you know what I'm saying? Yeah, it is a great game though, man. It is so fun to watch, so fun to play. So if we had the Micro Uzi, the reason that it's a faster gun is for 2 reasons. You can actually go into the warehouse and get a gun called the PPK that has an effect that gives you Quick Draw. Now, Quick Draw has a really high % chance of giving you ATB fully charged at the start of a fight. And out of the next 26 fights after you get, oh my god, after you have the possibility of getting that, if you get 20 of those, you're saving time, grand scheme, which is very, very likely to happen. The second reason is because the gun that we got from Centipede, it has an ice bullets effect that we can strip and put on the Micro Uzi. The M10 doesn't have room for it, but the Micro Uzi does. And the enemies you just saw me fight, those raptors, and the armadillos I'm about to fight in this next room, they're weak to ice. So it speeds up these fights tremendously. However, in the museum, so the first 2 fights you just saw me take with those double dinosaurs, the museum actually can have varied encounters. So typically you'll see different enemies in those fights. It can be like 1 of 2 different fights. You can get double dinosaurs or 3 green lizards. And the double dinosaurs is better because if you have ice bullets, because they're weak to ice and the 3 lizards are not. So on top of not getting extra encounters, getting the better composition of the encounters you do get also saves time. And some encounter compositions are better with ice bullets and some are better without. So far we've gotten 2 encounters that would have been great with ice bullets, but are actually slower without them. So a lot of intricacy in this shitty game. Sorry. Not this poo-poo game. It's a family stream. But armadillos are great because they're pretty easy to kill and they drop medicine 4s. So that's amazing. Feels amazing, man. I hope you died of the scorpion thing. Hey man, H-Box is my boy. So this is the fight we could have gotten earlier. So now we are 5 for 10, I believe. These guys are the equivalent of birds at this point in the game. They stun lock you, they drop junk, and they're annoying. They're exactly the same now that birds are no longer in the game. These are the new ones. Cool. Gotta make sure I don't pick up the junk. Yeah, The Last of Us, that was funny. I was like, wow, this game is something else. door trigger is annoying. Even at like GDQ and stuff like that, on my stream I cuss a ton because the games I run definitely have me prone to rage. But so caution if you're following me. I need to do a better job of it. I curse way too much. But in marathons I try to keep it on the DL, just because you don't know who could possibly be upset by it, and I don't want to bring any bad rep on speed gaming. But yeah, you're right. So, you know, usually you can get away with it every now and then. It's not too big a deal. Wow, this would be the God Museum if I had ice bullets. I've gotten all 4 of the encounters that can be ice bullet friendly have all been ice bullet friendly. That's freaking nuts. And of course I don't have them. Of course I never get the good gun. A lot of times I just let these guys hit me and take damage and heal myself through my medicine. Because these guys actually can't kill you. They can only ever just pop your medicine. Which is sometimes annoying, but sometimes helpful. Yeah, GDQ, and I don't want to bash GDQ or anything, but they have gotten semi... I'm going to sort right here because we're about to pick up a lot of medicine 4. I want to make sure that I can get... GDQ has been, and it's not that they've become political, it's just that they are, it's become a little bit strict, I guess is a fair way to put it, without assuming anything a little bit more extreme. They've become quite a bit more strict because they're no longer, you know, like the company, the Cancer Foundation that you're donating to is actually like, you know, the owner of the event now, as opposed to just like a contributor. Or a benefactor, or they don't benefit from it as much anymore because or they benefit, but they're not a charity receiving donations. They actually run it, and because of which they have they're gonna do what they know makes them money, and they're going to cut out anything that's extra and unnecessary that might turn away people willing to give them money. So yeah, it has become something else for that, especially. My problem with GDQ is not the strictness or the politicalness. It's that they're, because of how it's set up, you're only going to ever see the same games over and over and over. There's not a whole lot of variety in GDQ. The same runners will come back every single year. They're really bad about, I say bad, it's very much going to be, every GDQ is going to have the same core games with maybe a few outliers changing, because they know for a fact that that's going to bring in donations, and they know those donation incentives work well, and they know that, you know, the streamers that have done certain runs do it a certain way that they approve of, and it really doesn't leave a whole lot of room for, you know, trying new things or new runners or new games and stuff like that. So that is my issue with it more than anything. I don't know if I would use the word political. I definitely understand what you're saying. I don't know if I would use the word political as much as I would use the word, it's just like super corporate. I would use that word. I think it's mega, it's become extremely corporate. I think that's how it feels. I prefer RPG Limit Break anyways, not because I hate GDQ, but because I prefer RPGs as a whole, so that just appeals more to my taste anyways. Alright, so right here I'm going to heal using medicine, because we might have to fight a scorpion out here, and I want to make sure that I have all my parasite energy. Come on, man. There we go. Yeah, okay, I can understand that for sure. Is this on emulator? No, this is on PSP. Oh, we didn't get the scorpion. I think I'm still going to energy shot. Anyways. So, yeah, this is... This is on PSP. PSP is the fastest way to run the game. PSP and PSTV. It's not crazy fast compared to consoles. Emulator and PS3 are the slowest. If you want a world record time, you'll have to get PSP or PSTV. But don't let that discourage you from running the game, because it only saves a couple of minutes, and most people are, even if they had a PSP, would not be close to those top times anyway. So don't let that discourage you from running if you are interested in running. Yeah, it's digital. It's digital on PSP. So yeah, there's a couple of textures in the game where you'll see it do those weird black box effects. Yeah, it's donation friendly, and the reason that they're gonna have the same Mario, Zelda, Mega Man, Metroid games every single year is because they know it brings in donations, and you can't knock them for that. So I definitely am not upset that they do that. I just wish that, you know, it was more about the growth of speedrunning, and it's just not what the event's geared to do anymore. So the reason I energy shot there is because this screen is so large that it's really, really hard to consistently hit the enemies. So I limit my amount of targets, and it obviously makes it a little bit easier. The depth perception on this screen is probably the worst in the entire game. You have no idea whether or not you're close to hitting something. It sucks. These fights are very difficult as well, because you just kind of have to stand in the middle and hope you hit stuff. The screen is so large that you can't ever be in a position to guarantee that you're going to hit everything. So you kind of just got to shoot and pray. Oh, this is so annoying. These type of enemies, as opposed to like something like armadillos where you can kind of corral them, these type of enemies are much more difficult to do something like that. Wow, that was a long fight. Good lordy. Yeah, but PSP with the digital download, same thing with PSTV, and fast disk speed on, it actually makes a difference, even though it's digital. Is the fastest way to run the game for sure. Your health seems to be going up pretty fast. Yeah, every time you level, you get a substantial amount of increase to your HP total. Also, the fact that we have the CM vest dumping out medicines on us is also super helpful. So, the run is if you have the 2 revives, you'll complete a run almost every single time. Now, in my PBs, I don't pick up either revives because they're slow. It takes like 20 seconds or so to pick up one. And that costs me a lot of time, in which case I just, don't die, and I'll be good to go. But, it's not always up to you in fights like Shiva and Centipede and things like that. A lot of people don't even know that room I just went into exists. If you play casually, you come to turn this thing off, you hold down right, you'll end up in that elevator. You go to room 4, and there's some free guns. One of the cooler cutscenes in the game. I'll be quiet for a minute so you guys can take it all in, can enjoy it. Is there a survival horror speedruns marathon? Yeah, I actually did one called Wicked Fast. It was a survival horror speed run that was around the Halloween time period. And I ran this game in it. There was a lot of Resident Evil and stuff like that. So let's hope we don't get any of the encounters in the next few screens. Especially in the very next screen, it slows us down substantially. Bummer. At least it's this fight, and it's not a different one. Okay, cool. So whenever you use a spell from the menu, you'll notice that it takes priority over whatever's happening on the screen. Dang it. I'm gonna let him roll down here. Come on, man. I ain't got time for this. So it freezes the screen so that you can get it off. So you can actually squeeze in spells in between attacks to, you know, dodge the attacks, basically, especially if it kills them. Wow, I'm getting every single repeat encounter. This sucks. So this slows me down a lot. We don't actually need... We're already so far over the XP that we need to be the level we need to be at the end of the game that all of these are just time losses now. Which is a little bit of a bummer, but it's okay. Tyrannomon. Yeah, we do fight the T-Rex here pretty soon, so you'll get to see some of that. Now right here, oh nice. We have to make sure that we are at a certain HP threshold, or I'm sorry, certain inventory threshold, because we need 2 free spaces of inventory right here for this little story trigger, and it forces 2 pieces of items into your inventory, and if you have a full inventory, it won't let you progress until you replace something. So you, instead of being able to sort and kind of deal with it, or use an item or whatever, you're forced to replace it. So it's important to make sure that your inventory is good before you go into this screen. You'll be surprised, man. I'll probably use most of that medicine up before the end of the day, before the end of the museum. This is by the Final Fantasy people. Yep, it came out in between 7 and 8. This game gave me nightmares when I was a kid. Yeah, this game is same thing with Resident Evil. I know that a lot of people were haunted by Resident Evil back in the day. But this is another just mashing sequence. We got to deal with Clamp. They kind of explain a little bit more of the story, but I'm going to save my explanation of the story until the sequence we have once we're done with the museum. You were haunted by the Resident Evil voice acting, I agree. Yeah, I do know the story of this game. That is surprising, I know, but it's only because I've played this game over 600 times, and my viewers have filled in some of the questions I've had. And because you're forced to watch the cutscenes in this game, you know, you can't help but pick up on some things. I've seen every cutscene in this game. So I did the math, and that 3-minute cutscene at the very beginning of the game, I've spent over 35 hours of my life watching. Can you believe that? That's terrible. Should've just gone sleep until it's ready. Yeah, in 35 hours I could have done something with my life. Forget about it. How does that make you feel? Makes me feel like I've, wow, every repeat encounter. This is crazy bad. Crazy bad luck, but it is what it is. How does that make me feel? It just, I don't know, a little bit happy. I can probably honestly say that I've played this game more than anybody else in the world. Granted, I wish it was a more impressive achievement in life, but, you know, that is what it is. No one does anything with their lives anymore. Yeah, I guess it shouldn't feel too bad. could be worse. I could play Minecraft or something, right? You know, the armadillos are popping off, my goodness. Oh, come on. What is that? What is that math based off of? Okay. Oops. No, I think I'm good. Alright, cool. $2,100? In 35 hours you could have busted 2,100 nuts. Yeah, what is that? Where are you taking that average from? Is that a personal average, or... The Chrysler Tower is brutal because the floors randomize themselves and everything. It is really, it is a struggle. So right here we're gonna open up with Energy Shot. The first phase of the Triceratops we want to be over as quickly as possible. He does a ton of damage when he has his head on, so we want to get him out of that as fast as we can. So you just pump out as much damage as possible as fast as you possibly can. We could die here, but you know, we have so many revives, it's fine. And then right here we cast Haste, and just try to gun him down. Yeah, that attack right there can actually do like over 400 damage if you get unlucky with the damage rolls. I'm gonna haste again, just make this a little bit easier. That's 1 per minute. Oh my god. Oh, that's amazing. So that went pretty well, I guess. Could have probably gone faster. I didn't need that, oops. Ah. I didn't really need that, that last haste, I don't think. But anyways. Who would spend 35 hours cracking nuts? Your hands would ache. No one can eat that many nuts anyways. Yeah, that's true. They would spoil. The stream went to a dark place. When Soa sleeps, so do the rules. Don't actually think that. That's not true. Chat got good when I looked away. Oh man, you guys kill me. So this fight is a little bit annoying, but it's fairly easy. I would consider this fight much easier than the Triceratops. You just haste. You can take a lot of damage here, but he doesn't really have any kill pressure. He'll mostly just go through all your medicines, which is a little bit annoying. If you stand behind him, like right where I am, right behind his foot, you'll always be in range to hit him, and you won't ever get hit by the fireball. Oop. We're gonna have to just take that L. I knew I'd get hit by that, so. We just want to push out as much damage as fast as possible. Yeah, that's pretty much just the theme in speedrunning in general. But in these fights, especially because of how they work, you don't want to hold on to Energy Shot. It's better to use it earlier than it is later, because you might be losing a little bit of value and damage. Wow, I've gotten really poor movement mechanics on this fight. So right here is a very important gun menu that I've screwed up in marathons before, so I'm going to take it really slow. Terrific. Alright, cool, we're good. My strat for speedrunning is to do this as quickly as possible. If you can believe that. Alright, cool. Sorry, I'll catch back up on chat now. I had to pay attention a little bit to that menu. I've screwed it up in marathons and looked like a fool, and then made the game take a lot longer than it needed to, but we're good. Everything came out perfect. Now, in these next two rooms, we can get encounters. Ideally, we don't want to, because I think we're already level 33, right? Yeah, oh my god, that's bad. To already be level 33 means we took way too many encounters. Starting to think I might not be a real professor, huh? Fooled you. So now we have a pistol that is also a shotgun. So it hits multiple targets, really speeds up things, it's nice. As you can see, we just put out the hurt now. Depends on a professor of what? You can be a professor of a lot of stupid stuff. Why does she have to wait for the bar to fill up before shooting? Yeah, I don't know. Like, if you think about it thematically, just fire as many bullets as you can as quickly as possible, right? I'm never going to be in a shootout where I'm holding on to my shots and letting the other guy get his turn. Okay, so yeah, what I did there is I took the shotgun and I took burst from the shotgun and I put it onto my pistol in the empty slot that the M8000 pistol has available. Then I took all the bonus points, all the damage and stuff like that I had added to the gun I had been using over the course of the run and applied that to the pistol as well. The M8000 has a unique trait called enter two commands, which allows you to do exactly what it sounds like, which is to enter two commands. So I can choose to attack and heal in one turn. I can choose to just attack twice, attack and cast a spell, whatever. It adds a lot of options as far as that's concerned, which is super nice. And in burst, the way it works is like if they're in a line in front of you, and it kind of is like a fan shape, then you're going to hit multiple targets. And the reason it's necessary is because this next fight, Eve has multiple targets, but because they're all stacked on top of each other, we can guarantee that we hit all three of them with burst, and it makes this fight whole minutes faster. We used to do it with the micro Uzi. We would make an automatic SMG shotgun. We would put enter two commands from the M8000 onto the micro Uzi, and then we would put burst onto the micro Uzi as well. But ever since the backup strat has been found for the M10, and ever since the ice bullet strat got found for the micro Uzi, we end the game the same way, as opposed to having alternative gun routes depending on what gun you get. So this is the way that both guns end up at the end of the museum. Yeah, this is making me want to play Parasite Eve 2 again. Parasite Eve 2 is a great game as well. I'm not a huge survival horror guy. Like I don't know a lot about them. I'm not great at them. But absolutely is a great game. I enjoyed it for what it was. I do own it. I considered speedrunning it, but I don't like that emulator is the fastest way to run it. Otherwise, I would consider it a little bit more heavily. But yeah, because of the way, and absolutely, man, absolutely happy to explain. Because of the way that guns work and the stripping of stats and things like that, you can, like, I've seen people with an assault rifle that shoots rockets. I've seen, you can make all kinds of crazy Frankenstein-style weapons that are, like, really, really cool. And because of that, the game has a lot of casual replayability, and you still get, like, unique experiences out of it every single time. So that's terrific. I like that a lot about the game. You can't say that for a lot of games nowadays, especially, and even back then in this era, there was not a whole lot of replayability, especially on these longer games. Just run it casually for like fun or something. I haven't played a game casually in so long. Pretty much all of my time these days is wrapped up by Ni no Kuni. I'm getting that ready for for RPG Limit Break. Parasite Eve, I had a PB that lasted for about 8 months. And I just beat it a few days ago. So I was happy to do that. But Parasite Eve doesn't see as much attention as Ni no Kuni these days, as far as like my speedrunning is concerned. Can you describe Eve's origins? I've seen you run this game 3 times now, but I always miss the beginning. Yeah, that's my fault, man. I should have explained. Now is a good time to do it. So yeah, like I kind of hinted on it a little bit earlier. The game was based on a novel that was turned into a movie in Japan, and the game is kind of like a spin-off variant of the story that Square created, taking place in North America. Now, in the novel and the movie, this chemical biologist, he had his wife die in a car accident, and now stricken with grief and kind of crazed and manic, he cultured some of her liver cells and accidentally created this very, very powerful source of mitochondria in these cells that he cultured. And they were so powerful they were able to draw power from the mitochondria around them and basically take form, take shape, and took on the form of his ex-wife, or his dead wife, I'm sorry. And basically she wreaked havoc on Japan, and he eventually had to bring an end to it and stop her. Now Maeda, the guy that you see in the backseat of this police car, the dude in the blue jacket, he was part of all that. He was one of the scientists under the biologist in Japan. That's his story. And he lived through all of that, saw the horrors of it, came to America to make sure the same thing wasn't happening, because it was found out that some of the cells from his dead wife were donated to kids, to 2 children in America. So he came and wanted to check and make sure everything was not going to poop, and it turns out, lo and behold, it is, and the same thing is taking place here. Now, Melissa, the singer that in the very, very beginning you see in the opera turn into Eve, she was one of the children that received I believe a kidney from the original Eve, the Japanese Eve, and that kidney had the reaction for those mitochondria to kind of eventually develop the same way that they had initially in Japan. And the mitochondria became so powerful they basically took control of Melissa, the singer's body, and Eve was essentially reborn in America. Now Aya was the other child that received one of those organs. She received a cornea from the original Eve, and her body was resistant enough, however introduced enough to the Eve mitochondria, that it has given her this kind of middle ground ability where she is resistant as well as benefits slightly from the strength of it as well. So hopefully that's a little bit of an explanation to catch you up into this point. Now what's happening is Eve is pregnant. She's gotten herself pregnant. It was actually a pretty center point of the novel and the movie, of the importance of her getting pregnant by a human. Obviously for probably nudity reasons or what have you, or they kind of skip all the sexual implications of that in this game, and she just shows up pregnant. And her goal now is to give birth to this ultimate being, the first being born of mitochondria, and it's going to usher in the new age and this new period of evolution of humanity, wipe humanity off the face of the earth, and basically usher in this next level of the evolutionary food chain. The movie is called Parasite Eve. You can watch it in its entirety on YouTube. It's in terrible quality, but it's a really old movie. It came out in like 95, I believe. It was based on the novel. And the music in it is the same guy that did the music in the game. Obviously, he did the movie first, but the music is terrific, just like this game's music is terrific. And it really came out. The movie is great. If you've played this game and you know anything about the story, you'll get a lot of value out of watching the movie, even if it's not a great movie. Just because it's interesting to see where the tie-ins are between the 2 storylines and everything. It's worth a watch. The book is incredible if you can get the English version. I think it's on Amazon. Kindle version is $10 on it. Yeah, I got the actual hard copy off of Amazon. Now, it's translated from Japanese to English, so there are definitely some pages where I'm like, the translation wasn't incredibly well done, but, that's just a couple of instances in the book. It's a long book otherwise, so incredible book. really the movie and the games do not do it justice. They really go into mad depth. The plot is obviously a lot more well developed, characters and what have you. But it's really good book. I would check out the movie as well, just for funsies. If you got nothing to do one day and you want to kind of put it on as background. But if you played the game, or any of the games in the series really, either of the two, I guess I should say, you'll get a lot of value out of experiencing the movie and the story as well. So hopefully that explained the story enough for you to be caught up, Mr. Marcus. If there's something that I need to revisit or explain a little bit better, absolutely feel free to let me know, guys. Now in this next fight, I'm gonna do it a certain way that recently I've kind of figured out. Is saves a lot of time. It's a good strategy. And then when we move to day 6, you fight 4 bosses, front to back, no breaks in between. And there's a strategy that I came up with that I think most of the speedrunners, if not all of them, use now, that give you a lot more consistency, as well as saves a tiny bit of time with good RNG. Yeah, I always thought it was funny that they just go pick up this police, this detective essentially, and they're like, hey, listen, we need you to fly in a helicopter wearing no gear, not even a helmet, not even buckled in, no flight experience. We need you to hop in this helicopter and go shoot missiles in the middle of the city. Can you do that? And she's like, yeah, whatever, I'll do it. Can you explain how Eve got pregnant in more detail so I can reach my 3,500 nuts? Check the movie out and you'll definitely get to see the method. Cleared everything up. Glad to hear it, man. Glad to hear it. Yeah, if you've ever seen the anime Claymore, it's kind of similar in that fashion. Like, Aya is a lot like Claire in Claymore, where she's like kind of half beast, half human. Especially when you see me use Liberate here in a little bit, you can really tell like she's able to access the mitochondria to a degree without it taking over. So it's very Claymore-esque if you enjoyed or even saw that anime. Very good show if you... It only had 1 season of Lust funding, but it's a really good anime if you're into anime at all. It reminds me of the Great Mighty Poof. I've never played any Conker's Bad Fur Days. Weren't those Nintendo titles? I never had a Nintendo as a kid. So right here you can actually see a lot of Final Fantasy influence in this Eve. I can't tell you how many Final Fantasy bosses, like the final bosses in the games, where they just look like limbs and shapes just mashed together to create a final boss. Like Final Fantasy IX Necron, the final boss in Final Fantasy IX is the same way. It's just like a bunch of shapes put together. And Eve is here too. She kind of looks like Genova with some crap mashed into her. She got hands for hair and stuff. It's really interesting looking. Got a corkscrew booty going on. Yeah, I've never read them. I've only ever read one manga in my entire life, and it was Akira, which is like my favorite thing of all time. So I enjoyed the... Claymore was the second anime I ever watched, ever, and I loved it, and I was really crushed to find out that it had no resolution. So right here you're going to see me haste right off the bat, and this is where you get to see enter 2 commands. So I can haste and attack, which is super nice. And then we're going to dodge her grab. If you stay far enough away, she'll be unable to grab you, and she'll be forced into these worse attacks. Now if she's able to grab you, she can do a couple of different things. Dang it! Of course, she can always jump on top of you and just force the grab, and there's nothing you can do about it. But she can lower defense, she can confuse, she can do a lot of crap with grabs, and it really sucks. Right here, when she jumps to the center, you just stand right underneath her, and you just pummel her till she's dead. I'm actually going to use a medicine here, because the next phase, she can actually snipe me around this damage without me being able to use my vest to heal. So that went well. Corkscrew booty. Gotta love that corkscrew booty. Is this the Dark Souls of JRPGs? As far as like aesthetics, maybe. As far as difficulty, absolutely not. It's a very easy game. Yeah, the end of Claymore the anime is so disappointing. Me not knowing any better, the first anime I ever watched was Sword Art Online, and then the second one was Claymore, so huge jump in quality there, obviously. And then I was devastated to find out. I was like, what? It doesn't finish? So right here is Liberate, the coolest looking spell in the whole game. And you tell me it doesn't look like Claymore, right? Where she's like half beast, half human, like Claire was at the very end. But Liberate attacks 7 times, each time for about 250 to 275 damage, depending on your level. And your weapon, obviously. Ah, man, so we didn't kill her with that. I greeted it out because I didn't want to see this attack. Just because that attack is slow. So there, we only needed one more round of attacks. That sucks. How is the magical stuff explained? You talk about in Parasite Eve, literally anything in this game can be chalked up to mitochondria. You can just blame it all on mitochondria. It's a free excuse to for anything. So you're saying, why is that not mitochondria? Well, what about the mitochondria? Because you can't disprove it, right? Because they created their own science around it. So you can just pretty much say whatever you want, do whatever you want, and it has some sort of merit and backing. Oh my god, we're so ahead right now. This is crazy. We're on sub 5 pace in a marathon, or sub 3 pace in a marathon. That's a really hard thing to do. Yeah, I like one specific type of anime, and it's like psychological thriller style. Darker Than Black, Monster, Code Geass, Ungo, Erased, things like that. So Sword Art Online, I immediately moved on from that style, just but it got me into anime, so I can at least be happy about that. Hey, Lol Spike, what's going on, man? Oh, glad to hear it. You caught it right at the end. So hopefully you enjoy this last little sequence of day 6. It's good stuff. It's fun. Oh, okay. I'll have to check it out. Absolutely, because it's you get like one good one of those a year. It feels like. So I'm gonna run over here and pick up medicine 4s, just to add a little bit of safety. And then I'll pick up ammo because I'm already here. And we're gonna rock, guys. It's time to do it. Let's do this. Yeah, it seems like once yes, I did watch Parasite. Parasite, Psycho-Pass. I've seen all those. See, I'm not as much about psychological horror as I am like psychological crime. So like Death Note, Ungo is one of my favorite shows ever. Serial Killer or what's her name? Serial Experiment Lane, I liked a lot. Terror in Residence, one of my favorite all time. So kind of Psycho-Pass, more along those lines. But I'll definitely check out Higurashi if it's cool as well. And Kokoku, whatever that is I'll check it out as well. Mostly about the horror. That's fine though. I'll check it out. Oh, I just finished watching Paranoia Agent. Really, really good anime created by the guy who made Paprika and Perfect Blue. I was really pleasantly surprised with that one. Okay. Yeah, I'm all for suggestions. I'll make sure to save this chat at the end. So this is the ultimate being baby. There's 4 fights. Ultimate being 1, 2, 3, and 4. The first one is a baby. The second one is like a preteen or a teenager. The third one is like an adult, and the fourth one is the grandiose, the granddaddy of them all, the ultimate being. Now, as far as difficulty is concerned, the second one is by far the hardest. But now we have a strategy that I came up with for marathon's sake and consistency in runs that actually turns out to be really, really good and makes that fight pretty trivialized. So really the third one is the only one that it has any kind of risk involved, and we have 2 revives, so I could pretty much just close my eyes and make it through this. And the hardest part of the game is actually the escape sequence at the end. It's really stupid. It's so dumb. Yeah, he did pass away. Sad, man. He was incredible. Everything he did was just top-notch and cutting edge and unique. No, this speedrun does not include the Chrysler Building. New Game Plus Chrysler Building is actually its own category. I don't run it, but there are some runs for it. If you want to see that, I would suggest checking it out on our speedrun page. So right off the bat here, we're going to do the same thing we've been doing. We're just going to haste and gun the baby down. So the baby has an attack where he'll drop to the ground, and he'll reduce you to 1 HP. Now, if you take contact damage at the exact point that he drops to the ground, you'll skip that animation. And I didn't do it right, so I screwed it up, but it's a thing. I got caught in the reload, so that's unfortunate. But yeah, can you imagine, like, in '98, you're like a 10-year-old kid playing through this? Like, this is hard. And the music is very... It gives me anxiety. So this is the strategy I came up with. It's a little bit RNG dependent, but it should guarantee that you make it through this fight every single time. Whereas I used to have a lot of runs die to this fight, and now that doesn't happen. How often do I gun down babies? Pretty much every time I get to day 6. We need 4 of these attacks to land on the body, so of the 7. So that's 2. This is 3. And 4. All right, awesome. So yeah, absolutely. This fight it's over now. This is all you got to do in this fight: is gun him down until he splits, and then cast Liberate. Granted, it speeds up this fight by a lot, and it makes it exceptionally safe. Granted, you take a little bit of a time loss on the next fight because you have to do that one a little different, but that fight is a lot easier to make it through. So I think most runners, if not all of them, are doing it that way now. And even if you get bad RNG, once the wings die, the body piece will jump to the center screen, and one more attack will kill him. So this fight is way easier. We're at a really high HP total as well, so. I had a clip that got really big on, made it into Glad Jonas and speedrun fails and stuff. I was on an incredible world record pace once, and I died on this fight because I misplayed, got really greedy. So it does haunt me just a tad. But we should be fine. So the strategy for this fight is to, similar to the others, it's just to fire shots. And once your Parasite energy is full, you cast Liberate, and it's over. So really, really easy. Not difficult whatsoever. And then the next fight is super free. You can't really even die in the next one. I mean, you can, but it's... If you have medicine, you should never die in the next fight. So these bosses are super trivialized by having Liberate, which is why it's 100% crucial to be level 33 by the end of the game. So we have to take a certain amount of encounters throughout the course of the game in order to be 33, So you kind of you don't want perfect RNG with 0 encounters. You kind of want somewhere in the middle, you know, which adds a small layer of complexity to things, but it's okay. So right here, you just shoot until you've done 20 damage, and then transition into the single greatest cutscene that has ever taken place in any video game ever. So we'll see that here in a second. But yeah, these little dancing things on the ground, they can root you in place and beat the crap out of you, but your vest should always protect you from them. Here's the cutscene. Greatest cutscene ever. You can fight me on this all day. It's the reason Daniel is one of the sickest characters in all of video games. And then the next sequence, the escape sequence, gives me mad anxiety. Check this out. My boy Daniel. He gets this genetically altered bullet magazine, this clip. He jumps out of a helicopter, no parachute, bursts into flames. He just fires a rifle, a laser beam, dead pinpoint accuracy, hits her in the hand, and then he extinguishes his own flames by landing in the ocean. Doesn't even scorch his suit, bro. Absolute legend. Absolute legend. And now you can see we're doing just a ton of damage. These are, storyline-wise, these are bullets that have been enhanced with Aya's DNA. And that is it. The fight is over. Yeah, you will never be the man that Daniel is. Nobody ever will. It's the greatest scene anybody's ever seen. Fight me on this. That you will not get quality like that in any other game ever released. The dude is a gangsta. Straight up OG, man. Alright, so I gotta mute my TV and calm my heart rate here. If you get caught or you accidentally go to the screen that you just came from at any point during this chase sequence, the game is over. And you lose your run. You don't get to revive, you don't get any of that stuff. You just, sorry, game over. That's one of the most BS things in video games. I know that a lot of people that played casually got really pissed off at it. Usually you would buffer loads, so start holding the direction that you would like to be going while the screen is loading. But while I do this, I don't do that, just in case I'm holding the wrong direction. I don't want to zone into the screen I just came from. I think that almost every single speedrunner has lost a run to this sequence. It's really stupid. Gives me, my heart rate is just going wild right now. And the music, that dum 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 dum. I have my TV muted. I always mute it for this section because that music gives me issues, man. Freaks me out. Like my heart rate is already going fast, and that freaking demonic drum whatever track in the background it just adds to the pressure. It freaks me out. Dude, one day this game will kill me. Are there dead ends in that? Yep, there are. There are. There are dead ends, there are wrong turns. You will absolutely die the first time you do it casually if you don't know how to. I promise. And you can't save except oh, and that's another thing I should mention. I got a light glitch. So if you go through from one screen to the next while the lights blink, you'll actually get a glitch and it won't load the screen correctly like you just saw. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is it. This was a sub 3. Oh my god. I've never done a sub 3 Parasite Eve marathon run. Hell yes! Wow, what an incredible run. Incredible run. So that is the end of gameplay that I can contribute to. We don't split until the end of the credits, so you'll see a couple more scenes and things like that. But as far as like what I'm doing, gameplay wise, there's nothing else for me to do. So I'm going to get ready to set up the next run and everything. But yeah, this is a sub 3. So just to give you an example, the world record currently is 256.08, I think. Second place is 257.59, and third place is over 3 minutes or 3 hours. So so this would be a third. Only 2 people have ever sub 3 before, and this was sub 3 with marathon strats. So that's really, really nice. Really, really nice. I'm super, super pleased with that. Easily the best marathon run I've ever done, time-wise, despite it going more poorly. And I've done this in over 20 marathons at least. Why is she not... Mr. Marcus calling me out in my mistakes, man. So for the world record that was for forever, that lasted for about 8 months, until it was recently beat, Aya had an extra A in her name. It was kind of a running meme. So that is funny. But no, her name is correct in this one, thank goodness. Invalid. My bad. I should have done it for solidarity's sake, huh? Just to appease everybody. How unPalmer of me to not name her an extra character. I wonder if my current PB... Do you know if my current PB has an extra character? It might. Happens every now and then. Please ban Palmer. I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry, please. Yeah, if you guys enjoyed the game, if you're a Parasite Eve fan in general, if you're interested in learning a speedrun game and you like RPGs, if you've never speedrun, this is the most easy. As far as RPGs go, it's actually really short. The easiest speedrun to learn. We have no glitches, no tech, no skips, nothing fancy. It's just screen memorization, getting strats down, getting decent at menuing, things like that. So entry level, you can learn it in less than a day. There are no resets, nothing like that. It's very easy to learn. We have insane amounts of guides that even if you've never played the game before, I had never played the game before and I still learned it in about half a day. Because our notes and our guides that we have available are just so in-depth and incredible. Shoutouts to Primus for doing all that incredibly hard work. If you're interested in learning a speed game, you could not find an easier one to get into. But at the same time, in order to get a really, really great time, there's a lot of reason to put in the work. Because you can get significantly better to certain thresholds. But as far as like just getting a run finished, just getting a leaderboard spot, doing your first speed run, you will not find an easier RPG, especially. But there's also, like I said, the merit to pushing it to get a really good time, because it does benefit from playing over and over again and getting good at. Slap that like, yeah, thank you so much. If you guys enjoyed it, I run this game, Ni no Kuni. I run a couple of meme games. But Parasite Eve and Ni no Kuni are my big ones. Definitely the ones that I'm most well known for. If you're interested in seeing anything like that, or just talking anime or nonsense, yeah, feel free to check my channel out. Give it a follow if you want. And hit me up if you're interested in learning any of the games I run. The Parasite Eve community, the games I run, they're small communities, so we go way out of our way to like make sure that people who are interested stay interested. Because the games by themselves don't draw enough people for us to not care, you know, how the community acts. So all the communities are super incredible. The Parasite Eve community is amazing. I love it. It's terrific. So we have a Discord, find our speedrun page, whatever. Get a hold of me if you need to, if it's something you're interested in, absolutely. So I always thought it was funny that the opera show that they did, that everybody died at 6 days before, they were like, you know what would be good? Let's just do the same exact show, and this time we'll incorporate our own fire. That'll get people to show up again. And people went. I can't think of a worse idea if I'm the head of like that theater. Like you know what? All those people died. We should probably not do this anymore. That's what they want you to think. We're gonna do the opposite. We're gonna prove that we cannot bend nor break. We are going to do the same exact show because that's all any of our actors are trained to do. So I actually, until I do my final split, don't have to touch my controller anymore. No more mashing. The reason that we split after the credits is because there is a last input that you do that triggers in-game time, and because of in-game time, it doesn't really. We don't use in-game time to base the times on the leaderboard at all because we allow for resets and stuff like that for RNG. Or if you die, you can save and load a save, and that screws up the in-game timer a little bit. But we do put in-game time on the leaderboard as like a secondary thing because that kind of gives you an idea for the difference between consoles as far as load times are concerned. So that's why we split at the very end of the credits as opposed to exiting the boat or what have you. Why do you only do a single split? I think that's just how the marathon is. You know, this is not a run on my channel or anything. This is an actual marathon. So usually it's just start and end for most marathons, as opposed to actual split timers. But if you watch like my streams, my runs of Parasite Eve, I do a split every single day, like at the end of every day. Ooh, maybe it's not sub 3. It'll be really close. But yeah, if you couldn't tell by that very strange ending right there, that's not the only ending. The Chrysler building is technically the true ending, which can only be accessed through the New Game Plus variant. I don't do New Game Plus runs. They require a lot of silly stuff to go on, and they're pretty much just meme categories. But there are some runs for it, so if you're interested in seeing Chrysler building be done, you can check that as well on our speedrun.com page. Why did everyone turn into a jack-o'-lantern? It's supposed to be like E or Aya still being the mitochondria, kind of drawing forth that energy, just how she did. Honestly, I can't really explain the ending. It's kind of left open-ended on purpose, and doing the true ending doesn't actually explain anything. It basically is, in my opinion, my take on it has always been that it feels like, you know, Aya, as she gets older, just like Melissa did, as Melissa got older, the mitochondria became more active, and maybe Aya is reaching that point now where, you know, maybe the mitochondria in her is more powerful than anticipated or than we thought initially. So that's my take. There are a lot of people online that have different theories and stuff like that, so that's kind of for you to decide. Damn, my roommate is like snoring. Yeah, speedrunning his dreams. He is snoring like a trainer. I'm gonna have to wake him up. I had to do my casting in the living room today as opposed to my bedroom because my daughter is here and I didn't want her to wake up. So yeah, so funny story. She is actually, my daughter is 4, and she has started to play video games lately. So it is pretty cool and exciting to see her struggle through that stuff. It's quite hilarious to me. I apologize, guys. I'm having to get the next runner set up while Sloa is taking a well-deserved rest. So excuse my silence. The timer still runs until the end of the credits. That's when I do my final split, and that's when we will. It's because that's when you get the in-game time. So yeah, it is annoying. We have to deal with it, but you get to listen to this lovely song. So and I'm getting Dragalina set up right now. So be ready, guys. We're about to get wild. There are no speedrun strats for this screen. Yeah, absolutely not. The Parasite Eve community has had a lot of debate over whether or not it's a good idea for us to stop the timing a little bit earlier than we do now, for the sake of, we can stop it when we exit the boat, because that's the last real thing we do, and just retime everything. And for like marathons and stuff like that, it would obviously be more advantageous, but because when the game was initially routed and the older generation of Parasite Eve runners set it the way that they did, there's been a lot of hesitancy to change that. And we don't have a ton of runners. The game's not super competitive, so it's not the end of the world. But maybe one day that'll change and we no longer have to do this. But all right, so we're gonna get ready on time here. Yeah, well, this is going to be a sub 3. Wow. That's incredible, man. I'm so excited about that. Yeah, this game has multiple P breaks. I always tell that to new runners. Time. Oh, man, I didn't stop the time. There we go. Wow, it was sub 3. Terrific. That's incredible. That's incredible. And there we go, guys. A 2:59:35 or whatever. This would be a third place run, if it was an actual run. But my PB is significantly better. But still, for a marathon, this is easily the best marathon I've ever done. So, like I said, if you guys are interested in Parasite Eve, message me, get a hold of me. Check us out on our speedrun page or whatever. But without further ado, I'm going to transition into some music and a transition screen, and we are going to get the next runner set up. So if you guys want to stay around, it's definitely going to be worth it. Dragalina is up next. So thank you guys so much. My name is Professor Palmer. Have an incredible night.